Lucy. Unfortunately, Lucy isn't able to make it today due to some personal reasons. So she'll be back again next week. But in the meantime, you're going to have me, and I have organised for a special guest. So one of our weekly commenters, one of our people who's on the stream regularly, actually said that they're going to come over and give me a hand. They're about 20 minutes away though, so please bear with me until they're here. Um, I haven't streamed by myself in a while, so this will be fun. Um, if if anyone has any suggestions or wants to make some extra comments, I would really appreciate it because it's a little bit difficult when it's a bit of a one-side thing. So probably the most important technology event that happened in the past week was that we were able to fly a helicopter or a drone on another planet. So that was super exciting. Please let me know if you watched that live. Um, Probably the most interesting thing about this is that Mars doesn't have much of an atmosphere. So flying a drone or a helicopter over there is actually much more challenging than flying it here, for example. It does make things like landing on Mars easier because we don't have so much atmospheric friction. But yeah, as far as flying around, it's really tricky. So in the solar system, the planet with the biggest atmosphere that we know of is probably the gas giants and also Titan, interestingly enough. Is anyone who's listening able to see the chat messages? If you could please make a comment, that would be really awesome. I know we've just started, but it would help. I'm just going to make sure that that's coming through. Um, so this is really weird doing it by myself. Normally I've got Lucy to bounce off. Yeah, so it's been a busy week. For me, I've been working very hard on finishing off coronavirus testing. One other thing I've been working on is some business problems that have come about because of the pandemic. So one of the things that has happened during the coronavirus pandemic is that people haven't been able to give blood as often as they normally would. So the whole world operates on like a really short supply of blood that's in storage that just gets rolled out. Ah, awesome. Thank you, Stephen. Um, I've got a microphone today as well. Everyone's complaining about the hum. So if there is a hum, let me know because I've got a microphone. So hopefully that is going to stop that annoying sound of my computer taking off or something like that. So with the coronavirus pandemic, there's all these different industries that have been affected, and one of them is blood banking. So CSL Behring, who are the sugar company, CSL is how I think about them, are actually, from my understanding, the biggest biotechnology company in Australia. Now, with thanks for that, Matt. With the biotech in Australia, CSL basically run it. So when we were going to manufacture the vaccine here, ScoMo said, "Oh, we'll get CSL to make it." Now, as far as I know, they haven't actually done this, and the actual manufacture of the vaccine is pretty easy. Like most beer brewing places could probably do it, not to a high enough standard, but the actual mechanics behind it is pretty easy. So they contracted CSL. Now CSL have put out a challenge that if you're in Sydney, they want to be able to use the blood they do have better. So there's a competition at the moment, $40,000 in Auslan. That's $40,000. $40,000 first prize and $15,000 second prize for technologies that allow us to be able to pull antibodies out of blood, out of specifically plasma. So I'm going to be competing on that. But if anyone on this stream is interested, there's a really good opportunity in 1 month's time to win $40,000. It's relatively easy from a biohacking perspective. Please get in contact with me because it's something that I've gotten really interested in. I've done a massive deep dive this week looking into the different types of equipment that needs to be built to do it and all the different technologies. So unfortunately, I've been like so deep dived that I'm trying to think of things which aren't incredibly technical to talk about. I'm just having a look through. Has anyone seen any really cool uh, technology stories in the last week that they wanted me to talk about? If not, I'm just going to talk about astrobiology. So why are we even flying around on Mars? Why aren't we flying around on Venus? That's it's a very Western thing for us to look at to look at Mars. So the second world, or the Eastern Bloc, which is like Russia and the Soviets and a lot of the communists, were very interested in Venus rather than Mars. So during the 80s, I think it was, like end of the space race, end of Cold War era, Russia actually landed a lander on Venus too, and one of them took color photos. The first one that landed couldn't actually pop the lens cap off the camera because the pressure on Mars was too great, and they used explosives to try and blow it off, but it was like 450 atmospheres. So what they did was they launched another one with even more powerful explosives, and they're able to take color photos of Venus. But they didn't care about Mars at all. Mars was like an American thing, but now it's like continuing on to be like the whole world wants to go there. But Mars is actually a really terrible target for pretty much everything, except for looking at life that once was. So life that will be in Venus, because all the planets are moving away from the sun. So Venus will be entering the Goldilocks zone, and Mars has already left it. Solar power works better on Venus. There's way more materials there because Venus has an atmosphere. It's the same size as Earth. It's 90% the same size. So we've got the same kind of mass and gravity. That means everything on Earth works there too. So I'm fully in favor of Venus. And this week, actually, a Venus Facebook group, Let's Terraform Venus, sprung up that I am looking at, that I joined, which was fantastic. So I've got a guest coming around who's a guest I went to university with. He did a degree in psychology, and now he's been making a whole bunch of really interesting, some really interesting YouTube and TikTok videos. Thank you, Stephen. Artificial nervous system senses light and learns to catch like humans. Okay, I'm going to bring this up. Thank you for that, Stephen. So on the artificial systems, it's really interesting because we're reaching a point where we've got top down and bottom up stuff happening at the same time. So we've got creating brains from neurons, and also growing brains from embryos in similar kind of directions. And what we're doing is, I'm just going to bring this up so I can quickly report on it. Basically, oh, hold on. I don't know if I can actually bring that up on here. I'm going to see if I can bring it up on my computer. I don't know how this is going to work, so fingers crossed this doesn't break anything. Let's have a look. Open link in new window. I'm going to try this. There we go. Okay, so speaking on artificial nervous systems, I've been following brain-computer interfaces, but slightly differently for a long time. And when I say slightly differently, I'm talking about brainoids, which are very small brains made from cells. So we have the ability to create stem cells from almost any cell in the body now. So we can take cells from your skin and fibroblasts, and we can turn them into nerve cells, and we can actually make these tiny little proto brains. Now, I've met a few people who are working with these. One of them was an artist from Western Australia named Ben Guy Ari, and he did a music project where he hooked this brain up to a synthesizer, put electrical signals in, and then read the electrical signals out as music. Which was one really interesting brainoid project. The other one was a guy named Osh, who went through Indie Bio with me doing a project called Koniku. And Koniku was basically using brains as processing devices like a CPU. And he put these neurons, small brainoids, they're about 100,000 neurons or something, very, very small brains, into drones that could then sniff out bombs. Now, there was a company, it was Mercedes or BMW, was very interested in the brainoid technology, because one of the problems we have with with self-driving cars is that if they have an accident, like happened this week with Tesla, there's no one to blame. There is, brainoids freak me out. Yeah, they're really interesting. We'll talk a little bit about some of the freakier applications of them in a second. So one of the things about having brainoids is that you actually have someone to blame if a car has a car accident. So you can put the car in robo jail, or you can kill the brainoid. Now, brainoids bring up these huge ethical problems. Some of which being how big can the brainoid get before you kill it without any ethical consequences? Does a brainoid have more rights than a brain dead human comatose patient if they're both made from human cells? There's a lot of artworks around here coming out of Symbiotica, which kind of start to open up and explore this. And it's something that we have to talk about as a society is where do we cut off, where do we give something ethics and where do we cut that off? Because that hasn't really been decided yet. And it's something that like gets tested every time when someone on life support gets switched off. But it's something that when we create it from scratch, we don't know where the ethics kind of start. I was going to bring up this artificial nervous system article. So, researchers at three universities in South Korea, developed an artificial system capable of simulating a conscious response to external stimuli. So when a photodiode detects light, it sends an electrical signal through a transistor that turns on. The signal is then carried to the artificial neuron circuit. The message is received, and the circuit learns how to respond to the signal. Basically, this is allowing I'm just trying to find out why this is. Oh, and it's using something very similar. So it's using it basically a brainoid to do that. So it's taking in stimulus. I think this is interesting because it is. I'm just reading now. Oh, and it can respond to the signal. So it's an input output. It's very very similar to the art project that Guy Ben Ari did, except the outcome is that it's actually doing something useful instead of just producing music. While brainoids have more rights than a lab rat, because we have human exceptionalism. For example, a good example of this is actually looking at fetuses and embryos. So, things that don't even have a heartbeat, a fertilized egg cell has certain rights that no other living thing on the planet has outside of humans. Will I get autism? Fantastic. Please, this week, please ask as many science questions as you can, because until my guest arrives, it's going to be a forward and backwards thing. Will I get autism from taking the COVID vaccine? It's very unlikely. I would say straight up no. There is no causal link between autism and vaccines, at least not in a direction. There's an argument that autism causes vaccines, but vaccines don't cause autism. The whole autism thing comes about because someone was trying to make more money off a competing vaccine. But they said that it was the MMR vaccine, only that one that caused autism, which has been one of the most thoroughly disproven scientific claims ever. I'm happy to talk more about the vaccine if anyone has specific questions on it too. Are the brainoids made out of human neurons? Yeah, often they are. In this study in South Korea, it didn't say, but I'm going to assume that they are. I'm going to have to read it in a bit more detail, but they've actually done this experiment with skin cells, and I'm guessing that they would be human cells as well. I'm actually really interested to work with human cells if anyone else is interested. And for anyone who's just tuned in, Lucy isn't able to make it due to a family commitment that came out of nowhere really suddenly. So please bear with me this week. Can I get a high-paying job in the sciences by getting vaccinated? I don't believe there are high-paying jobs in sciences. If there are, please let me know, because all the ones I know of are actually really cheap. The scientists don't get paid very much at all, unfortunately. And also, please let me know if the captions are working if you're watching this on Facebook, because I'm trying to make this more accessible. It's something I've spoken with a few people about. I can't do Auslan at a high enough level to be able to speak as fast as I do normally, but it's something that I would like to do in the future. Computer sciences, yes. So Nathan Waters has been talking about JavaScript as being a language that will give you a high-paying job, and you can work from home. You don't even need to be vaccinated. Could science ever provide us with a anime cat girl, a hybrid between a human and a cat? Okay, so I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna try something this week that I haven't tried before. I'm gonna quickly try to. I actually have a presentation that I can give, which talks about how you would make a human, how you would make a human hybrid cat girl. Actually, I think the most important thing when making a cat girl is that you don't actually want a human cat hybrid. I'm just going to bring up the presentation. Sorry, bear with me a moment. Okay. I'm just going to bring this up. So I haven't tried this before, but I'm about to give one of my first proper lectures over here we go. Okay. So I haven't watched enough of Full Metal Alchemist to get that, but what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put that away. I'm going to present. How do I present that as full screen? That's not going to work. I wonder if I can present. Okay, what I'm going to do is view. Okay, okay, let's see if we can do this. I think this is going to work. So, what I might do is I'm just going to add a new window to here. So it'll take 2 seconds. Okay, which is this one. And I'm going to shrink me down. I'll put this up at the top. I'm going to shrink me down. Oh. Okay, thank you very much for asking. Can we create human hybrid cat girls? The short answer is probably. It's not super tricky. I've just got to make sure that this is okay. Okay, I'm just going to position this so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, that works. Okay. I'm just going to quickly bring up the Restream chat over here. Okay, that works. Okay, so this started because Elon Musk had a tweet that said, hey, now we got that rocket shit out of the way, we can finally move on to genetic engineered cat girls. I'm not sure he actually said this, but that got me thinking, what is the possibility that we could actually do this? So I'm a geneticist, and I thought, okay, what actually is a cat girl? I'm going to zip through this quite quickly. Basically, a cat girl is a human with ears and a tail. I did a lot of research. Now, it doesn't have to be a cat girl. It can be a cat boy, a cat gender non-specific. They're all exactly the same. They just have tails and an ear. Do we actually do it? The short answer is probably yes. Okay, hold on. Well, what's happening here? Oh, I don't know why that's... Give me 1 second. Oh. Okay, what is actually required? Basically, funding, a place to do it, the tools to do it, and an understanding of the genetics that allow that to happen in the first place. Legality, we pretty much, we can't really do human-animal hybrids in Australia because basically it's illegal. Human Cloning Act 2002 prohibits us, explicitly says that we can't create chimeric embryos developing. We can't put animals and humans together. We can't put DNA from more than 2 humans into the same fertilized egg cell. Can't put permanently heritable alterations in the genome, so you can't cure any genetic conditions. And this stuff's serious. This is like 15 years jail if you get caught doing this. But we are the other countries, America and China, both are a lot more lenient on that stuff. So it's illegal in Australia, but it can be done in other places. We know the Chinese researcher, has actually created CRISPRed babies before. Now, it actually works pretty well, so it's got good efficacy to do full-on germline modification of embryos. People have looked into it, and it looks like you can do this for under $2,000. I'd say $15,000 is probably more like what you want for a lab. Now, where would you even get this funding, right? Okay, the Australian government has said that academics now need to pass a national interest test for public funding. So all government money that's given for taxation requires it to be in the public interest. So because of that, I think this is definitely in the public interest. Now, let's go to the actual genetics of how this would go down. So I did a lot of research for this. There's actually no known examples of true human tails. So there's these little things, like this, a vestigial kind of tail, but it's actually a fatty kind of addition, but it's not a true tail. Like when I think about a tail, right, I'm thinking like a lemur tail. Like I want it to have bones in it. I don't want it to just be like some fatty extension. I want it to have like stripes. I want it to have fur. I want it to be like, what's the word I'm looking for? Prehensile, right? I want it to be useful. And that's like a catgirl tail there. The cool thing is that lemurs have this, and lemurs are primates, right? So the genetics are quite similar. If we have a look, they're like descended reasonably recently from us. So the closer it is, the easier it is going to be for us to put that in there. And lemurs are, what is it? They're old world monkeys, I think. Move to China. Find a hot e-girl volunteer. Start OnlyFans TikTok at Real Catgirl. Use those funds to drive the research and experiment. Yes, Catgirl token, Catgirl coin. We can make this happen. Okay, so basically, let's have a look. We don't know exactly how tails evolved, but we have some broad ideas about where to go looking if we really wanted to. Like even though we don't know all the genes involved, we do know these things, that the general patterning of all animals, right, follows a similar kind of gene structure. And these are called the Hox genes. And they're in order on the genome. So the Hox1 is like the head gene, and like Hox8 or 9 is like, you know, the spine and the legs and stuff like that. It's the same kind of from a fruit fly, from a trilobite. Please excuse me, our guest is about to arrive. Hello, mystery guest. Oh, okay. So come to the right hand side. There's a little gate. And then just push it open. I'm on live stream at the moment, so everyone is. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You just tell me if the gate opens or not. Sorry, everyone. The anticipation is building. Okay. So if you push 4 ones and the hash key, it should let you through the main doors. Oh, I'm moving in like 2 weeks. Oh, here's Lucy. Lucy's tuning in. This is a guest. This is a guest. You're in. Okay, walk down to the right hand side and then walk all the way down, and just before the stairs, you'll see my unit. Just open the gate and then come straight through the door. I'm just finishing off a cat girl presentation. I'm gonna keep you on. I'll keep you on. You'll see. Let's have a look. I'm so excited. We've got a mystery guest arriving. Even Lucy doesn't know who the mystery guest is. So this is... oh, I'm moving house. Nope. It should be straight along the side. Hold on. I'm just gonna poke my head out a little bit. There's two stairwells. There's one on your left, and there's another one further down on the left. Unit number 8. Okay, there should be some plants and I'm listening. Hopefully, this is building anticipation. Who is the guest? Who is the guest? Oh, I can hear him coming in. And then open the front door. Oh, here we go. The mystery guest. Hey. Okay. I'm just going. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna. I'll get you to sit just here. I'm just going to finish off this presentation, and then you can jump in. So the mystery guest has arrived. We're going to quickly zip through the end of this presentation. So basically, we know the genes involved in creating tails. We've done some work with this. So we've done things where we've taken off the genes, cells that should be wings, and put them on the back, and they make more wings. We've taken leg cells and put them on the front, and it creates legs on the front of fruit flies' heads. So we know we can create bits and pieces on animals that have been there before. I'm just going to skip through super quickly. We've touched on the Hox genes. We've touched on the Homobox genes. So what can we do? We can basically make tails by expressing these genes in humans. I'm actually gonna cut it off there. We can talk about it more. For ears, there's no good way of making it. But yes, we could probably put tails on a human if we really, really wanted to. If people are keen, I'll do even more research next time, and I will give it an update, because I actually found something the other day about initiating expression of genes in adult organisms, which is super exciting. Okay, did the mystery guest bring Uber Eats? Did you bring Uber Eats, mystery guest? I don't know. Okay, okay. I'm just gonna bring up the chat window. This is the first time you've seen from this perspective how this works. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's up. That is closed. Okay. So this guest I met at university. It must have been a better part of a decade ago now. And I've been really liking his communications. I'll put his details into the window. So if you want to follow his channels, please do. His absolute value. I learned more about 1930s cookers today than I ever thought I would. So without further ado, adieu? It doesn't matter. They both work. Please welcome James Gilronan. You have to come across. We've got. Oh, that's all right. The dog. No, not. Terrified. Here we go. You want to grab this and say?
Hey, there's another one under here.
They're a little bit skittish.
Hey,
so what I'll do is
I'm famous.
There you go.
Hey. All right, we'll let them adjust.
We're just gonna put. There you go. That's fine. They've got to be able to run away. So I messaged James today and said, what are you doing in 10 minutes? And he said, I've just gotten home. And I said, please come around. Lucy wasn't able to make it.
I'm Lucy tonight.
Are you Lucy? Oh, I see. This is...
No, not the clothes.
Is the hair? No,
yeah,
she's blonde.
The hair is the closest thing I can get.
So have you seen any good... so do you want to just give us a quick intro?
Hi, everyone. I'm James. Yes, I met Meow while studying science, very topical, at UNSW. And we were quite immersed in pop culture at the time as well. But, there's not much else I can say. Let's just jump into the topics. But I tell you what, I was listening to what you were just saying then about growing tails on humans. And you kind of cut it off at the point where I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Because the real question is, can an adult grow a tail, or do you have to assign tails to your children?
I was being a bit tricky because as far as I knew up until this week, you could only do it in children. But I read something about initiating cell growth. So I was looking into regenerative medicine and looking into cancer and these things. And I read this, I found some article that says maybe we can just kickstart it in adults. Because we have bits that grow as we get older.
Ears keep growing.
Nose. We have our second teeth, our baby teeth, get knocked out by our adult teeth. So there's growth that kind of happens, right? And whole new organs in a sense.
Okay, I feel like
Yeah.
the key to growing a tail in an adult is
Mhm.
probably going to be when we learn how to regrow a whole finger.
Yeah.
And when they do that, don't they usually grow it separate to the body?
So,
Maybe you grow a tail using your stem cells and then you attach it rather than growing it.
is it yours then? It's like a donor tail.
I also studied philosophy at UNSW.
If we got any bioethics questions, this is the time. Now, so one of the things with the tail, right, is that we can't grow a tail in a dish. We could grow a lemur or a version of you without a head easier than we could grow just a tail.
What?
So one of the ways they've been thinking about what's called xenotransplantation is that you grow it in a pig or a humanized organ inside another animal or in like a body without a head, and then you just chop it off that thing and then you graft it on.
Okay. Does that mean you have to grow the whole? Is it because you have to grow the whole body? And
Well,
then chop the bits off you want?
yeah, because generally a thing like a finger, it doesn't have like a life support system. It doesn't have like a heart, right?
Right.
So you have to build an artificial heart, and then at
I
some
see.
point they're kind of like, well, maybe we'll just put it inside a fucking pig,
All right.
and
so
then when we
that's-
kill it to make the bacon,
I've seen this. They grow an ear on a rat.
yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah, except you grow a tail on something that you're going to use for something else, right?
Okay, yeah.
It takes, you know, how there's always like, oh, you know, I don't mind killing animals as long as they use the whole animal. This kind of ethical perspective.
You don't have to kill the animal though. You
Yeah.
could keep that animal as a pet,
Oh,
and you could be like, "Hey, you grew my tail."
here's my tailless lemur.
Yeah. And then you'd have like a deep bond with the animal, right?
Definitely. What add-on would you pick?
Oh, I'm down with the tail as long as you can sit down without it. 'Cause
Yeah.
I mean, I do an office job, and
Once you grow a tail, you don't sit down anymore. You hang from the ceiling.
that's like, oh, what is that cartoon?
My
With the,
Super Lamy?
I think that could be it.
That was really
It was
good.
like
He had a
a
gigantic
cheetah
tail.
with a huge tail.
Yeah,
it didn't make any
Marsupilami.
sense.
It made no sense. The tail was cool though.
Yeah.
I feel like the guy went to pitch the executive and said, "What about I make this marsupial with a really long tail into a cartoon?" And they go, "Yes," and that's where the creativity ended, right?
Gotta
Okay.
make more cartoons.
Yeah. So this is just to fill you in. What you see on the other side is actually very similar to what we see
Yeah.
here. So we'll go through the chat so we can zoom. It's a bit hard. Can you Uber Eats guy speak louder, please? Okay.
Sorry.
Now, are we able to actually scroll down? I don't know if we can.
Do you have any food, by the way?
Maybe.
He
I will
promised
once,
me tea.
Once we finish and the tea is ready. I've only got one cup, so I'll have to get a cup in a second. In all of oh yeah, this was great. Did you read this article?
No.
A scientist worked out how many T-Rexes actually lived in all time.
Okay.
So you know how there's people talk about there's more humans alive now than have ever lived before, and that's actually not true. There's like hundreds of billions of humans have lived before, right?
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure it's a huge number.
It depends at what point do they stop becoming humans and start
Yeah.
becoming pre-human.
We'll say roughly 100,000 years, but even if it was like 10,000 years, it's still probably the same, right?
Okay.
But some guy worked out that T-Rexes were around for quite a long time. So there was a total of 2.5 billion T-Rexes,
Cool.
which is pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
It's like a T-Rex for every 3 people or something, as they are now alive.
I guess they would have all had different feathers and colours.
It would have been a very interesting thing. It's about 106 billion humans. Thank you, Roy. Have lived before. So with the T-Rexes, the reason the guy worked this out is he's like, wow, I've got this paintbrush, and he's like, how lucky am I to find a T-Rex bone?
Okay.
What are the chances?
What are the chances?
And he's like, actually, you know what? There's probably quite a fucking lot of them across time. And he goes, well, maybe it's like there was more than he thought, I think.
Okay.
They put some rough bounds on it to begin with, and they narrowed it down, which I think is a really good way of thinking about it. Emily says, "Be wild if dinosaurs had their own cities."
Yeah.
What would public transport look like in Dinotopia?
We've seen that. There's a whole book and a movie about Dinotopia, and the public transport. It's like Diplodocus or something, and they sit on its back.
What other dinosaurs? It's like a
Yeah.
babushka doll of dinosaurs.
Exactly.
The smaller ones go on top of the bigger ones.
Yeah, because dinosaur civilizations, in case you didn't know, they're a bit like the Zerg in Star Trek. They don't have as much mechanical technology. They all have different bodies, and they use each other's bodies in adaptive ways.
That's really interesting because like a lot of the books I love are thinking about like using biotech more than all the other technologies.
Right.
Using actual ears instead of a microphone.
Yeah, okay.
And actual mouths instead of speakers. And it's so much more exciting. It's just way more difficult and expensive than doing things with electronics.
It really brings up that question again. What body part would you choose to have? You know, for fully able-bodied people, we start imagining all kinds of things, but there's a lot of people out there that they're just like, I just want a hand.
Well, my friend,
an arm.
my friend Tom has the body part that I want.
Oh.
He has hooks, right? I want pincers.
Oh, I've heard about.
I want pincers. It's really useful. He can reach inside boiling water and pull things out.
Yeah, but what about a soft tentacle?
Soft tentacle would be good, but I don't know if I have the brain to control a soft tentacle.
Okay.
I think it requires a level of spatial awareness I just am absolutely clueless about. Do I get the bit of the brain that controls it too?
Yeah, no, I reckon, to be honest, my understanding of the cerebellum is that it's very adaptable and it can basically work out how to control any body part.
You just stick it on, connect the nerves up?
You just got to train it. Like the Neuralink, like what is
Elon Musk's Neuralink.
Elon Musk's Neuralink.
How hard could it be?
Or a lot of other things.
Could you put a Neuralink and connect it up? So have an input to the Neuralink. Normally it's our brain. You put half the Neuralink on the tentacle and then half the Neuralink in your brain.
Okay.
And then you could just reach out with your mind and start moving this little tentacle.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Elon, if you're watching, please send us a demo. We have an experiment.
Hire us.
That's it. I think we're one OnlyFans in Japan away from self-funding the entire Neuralink project.
Do you have an OnlyFans?
No, I don't. My friend Franz, who was on before, has an OnlyFans.
What?
It actually made a surprisingly large amount of money. So,
wow.
Yeah. Do you have an OnlyFans?
I don't.
Have you ever seen an OnlyFans that wasn't for adult content? Because they're mythical. Supposedly they exist.
I've never seen an OnlyFans.
Oh, really?
I've heard about OnlyFans, but the only OnlyFans I've heard about have been adult content. I assumed that it was a new form of porno.
Well,
but it could be. They could be wearing clothes, for example, but they're creating content for you to consume, and I think it's mostly for people that want to look at beautiful, sexy things.
But that's the way these things start. Like these, you know, a lot of these sites start off as being like, oh, you know, we allow adult content, so it's filled with adult content, but they end up becoming censorship-free zones, which is actually really cool, and they grow their base outside of of just that. Sound is muffled.
Okay. Is it just my voice or is it his voice too?
Linus Tech Tips has an OnlyFans. Shot to the top. Linus Tech Tips is great. The T-Rexes only lived for 2.4 million years, and there was 2.5 billion of them, which is quite good. They did it last week. So I saw that they connected a monkey's brain to the Neuralink, which is one half of the equation. They need to then connect that up. Potato salad Kickstarter. They need to then connect that across. Do you remember the potato salad Kickstarter?
It's ringing a bell. Can you remind me?
During the height of Kickstarters, when lots of these were failing, this kid was like, "I'm gonna make a potato salad. It's gonna, you know what? This Kickstarter's going live if I get $15." And everyone was so underwhelmed by every other Kickstarter and the length of time it took that he ended up making like, you know, $100,000 in actual donations. There was even more than promised.
Did he then donate it to a cause, or did he just keep
I think he made a lot of potato salad, and he like offered to fly people in. But it's
wow.
Potato salad OnlyFans.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, you enjoy cooking, don't you?
I do.
And you enjoy gardening.
I enjoy both of those.
I enjoy both these things. There's something about.
I enjoy potatoes.
Potatoes in general.
I love eating potatoes.
What's your
Growing
favorite
them is a bit more difficult.
Favorite way of eating a potato?
To be honest, I steam my potatoes usually. It's not a very popular method, but it's very easy. And if you steam them for long enough, They get nice and soft, and you can just chuck anything into them.
Do you? I think.
Oh, it's so good. I usually open a can of fish.
Really, what type of fish?
Kippers?
Kippers.
Kippers? It's like a mackerel.
How long have you been eating the mackerel? Was it something you came to later on in life, or is it something?
Yes, actually, the kippers especially. Probably only a few years, 3 years, 3 or 4. The kippers. Yeah, I couldn't really think further back than that. I think that canned fish is one of those things that everyone is very apprehensive about. And there's a lot of different types of smells that can come out of that can.
There are.
But
I started eating sardines 1 year ago.
Hey,
Almost 1 year ago and 2 months.
Welcome.
Do you know? And kippers, I don't know.
You don't know yet. But they're actually way better than sardines. I was doing sardines like 8 years ago.
What got you on? Why did you want to eat sardines? What was you want to embrace your inner dad, or?
I don't remember what it was actually. I think I just had like a primal moment where I thought I just want to eat a sardine, like
a whole fish.
Yeah, I just want to eat these fish.
I want to take an entire fish, condense it down, stuff it in my guts.
I think I must have hated them for a long time, and then one day tried it and actually liked it, and suddenly thought, well, I'm going to try all the sardines. So I tried all the sardines.
I did this too. This is when I
all brands of sardines.
It's like the dam breaks. Yeah. There's a sardine. You're holding the crack. You pull that sardine out, and then you're like, I'm going to go and I'm going to buy one of every type of fish. Exactly. I'm just going to try it. But you know, sardines and mackerel are really good for you and the environment. Yep. There are some people that have argued that if you are a vegetarian for environmental reasons, you should also eat oysters and sardines because their impact on the environment is so small that it's actually more positive to eat sardines and oysters than it is not to harvest them.
Now, with sardines, this is true because of the amount of fishery extraction of the predators of the sardines, like tuna, for example. But oysters, I didn't realize, because I really like also those cheap smoked oysters.
They're not bad.
You don't know where they came from.
Surprisingly good.
They're good.
So
no one's ever going to believe my taste in food is good.
Oysters are filter feeders, and they don't have like a brain. Much like certain members of politics, they're basically like half a nervous system. I reckon an empathy consultant would be better spent training an oyster. It has better chance.
Everyone gets up on this empathy training. But I want to just jump in here on that because everyone thinks, how are you meant to teach someone to be empathetic? But the point is not to teach them to be empathetic. It's to teach them to act empathetic. It's so that the government doesn't come across as being unempathetic.
But should we have to train this is okay. If they act as if they're empathetic, is there any difference than if they're actually empathetic, right? We talked about this with strong and weak AI. If there's an AI that basically mimics humans well enough, it doesn't matter whether it actually thinks or not, because for all intents and purposes, it doesn't matter. So maybe if you can train them to pretend to be empathetic enough, the outcome is empathy.
Maybe. I mean,
so it doesn't actually matter.
I mean, that's a hard question because even if you train them to be more empathetic, does that mean that when they're using their empathetic skills, are they using them genuinely? Like,
do they need to?
I mean, you can't. I think the only way to force someone to be empathetic would be to traumatize them somehow.
I'll traumatize ScoMo.
So they understood the pain that other people went through. But we expect a lot from ScoMo and politicians nowadays because I think a lot of it is the social
when you say
media era.
We expect a lot,
you're
talking
media,
the public, or
yes.
Because certainly not other members of the political parties.
No.
They expect pretty much.
I don't know what they expect. All I know is that in the past, politicians, whenever they were in front of the public, it would be like a big event, and they'd get the camera out and film them, and then
film them on radio. They would film them giving a radio presentation.
Something like that.
Holy moly.
And it was a big event, whereas now everything anyone says is public, and the demands on the empathetic skills are much higher. That's not to say they shouldn't step up to the game, because a lot of other things are easier for them.
That's right. And I think the thing is they have to be adapted. And politics, as you know, because we've both run for politics at different points, is...
Fun fact.
Fun fact is it's about a lot of it's about money, a lot of it's about optics. So, and a lot of the money that goes in is actually about optics.
Yes.
So it's about the public's perception. And when you do things like let politicians get away with certain stuff and don't hold them accountable, even if it's not proven, it actually creates bad optics. And the empathy looks like it's bad optics because even if they do have empathy, it's like how do they demonstrate that to the public the best? The fact they have the empathy coach further erodes it and makes the optics even more difficult.
Because then you won't believe them if they're empathetic. You'll be like, oh, well, he just learnt that at that class.
Sound is still muffly. Okay, we can turn this sensitivity way the fuck up.
Right. Tell us if we're ruining your eardrums.
So we're oscillating, right? We've got this curve that goes scratchy sound of a computer fan, I can't hear you right. Scratchy sound of a computer fan, I can't hear you right every week. But I think we're getting closer to the absolute perfect baseline of
I see.
You know what we need? We need those
need
little boom,
like an advisor or a consultant, like
Yeah.
a media technical assistant,
yeah.
who can just make it work.
Yeah, so volunteers, please get in contact. If you've just tuned in, Lucy has has her understudy, Bill James, this week. So I like
Who's Bill?
Who's Bill? James Gilronan. I like psychopathic oysters. No empathy consultant for oysters. I agree. Eating small fish like sardines, oysters, and mussels are good options if you care about the environment. This is the other big reason that I swapped, is the bioaccumulation of toxins like mercury. So when we eat things that are further down the food chain,
Right.
the heavy metals don't get concentrated all the way up. So there's only a tiny little bit of mercury in each sardine. But if you have a tuna that's eating sardines non-stop, all that mercury accumulates, and there's actually quite a lot, especially from industry and stuff like that. And then you end up eating the tuna and you've just eaten 1 billion sardines. Maybe not.
Okay, that's a really great point. See, when you're eating tuna, you are eating sardines.
That's right.
Because they actually catch sardines and then they feed them to the tuna. And so to eat a tuna, you've got to eat so many sardines. They could feed you many lives over. So why not just eat the sardines?
Because tuna is really fucking tasty.
It is tasty.
Like, I try to pretend like sardines are really like on the same level as tuna, but they're not.
They're not as versatile.
And it's interesting with fish, we actually eat a lot of predators. But for other animals, yeah, well, like we eat like tuna, we eat salmon, we eat
with
things,
fish,
sharks.
we eat predators, yeah.
We don't eat like lions or tigers
That's a good point.
or pretty much any predators, right?
Yeah.
All of the things we eat are herbivores, and a lot of that is due to the ease of farming. But one of the big things is, what do you feed carnivores? Herbivores. So you've grown all that grain, then you've made a steak essentially, and you feed 100 of those steaks to make one pretty much exactly the same steak.
Don't eat dogs.
But you can eat crocodiles, funnily enough.
Okay.
Crocodile's one of the few predators we eat. Have you eaten crocodile?
Well, you can eat dogs too. I mean, you can eat crocodile.
Yeah.
But people don't care about crocodiles.
Do you think dog would be tasty though?
They don't have empathy for crocodiles.
Ah.
Crocodile tears means tears we don't care about.
Full on, you're right. There's no empathy for the crocodile.
I've had crocodile once, but I don't remember what it tastes like. I'm pretty sure it was like fish or chicken.
Yeah, I think it's porky, chickeny. It's
Right.
quite nice, I think.
I would eat it right now if you had it on the table.
If anyone wants to deliver some crocodile, we're more than...
There's a few other reptiles in here we could eat.
There are quite a lot. Just quickly, we'll go to the comments. Salt-resistant GMO for a random topic idea. Okay, so...
Is it possible?
I'm just going to... okay, yeah. So, we're just going to quickly talk about this. So have you seen Elon Musk's fund that he put together? I think it's about $100 million to come up with a way to take all the carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere.
Oh, it's like that. It's like that fund for magicians or people who can prove psychic abilities.
Yeah, that's it.
What's that called?
James Randi did this,
Randi?
right? Yeah, and he's like, if you can prove that, you can divine where the water is underneath this field, I'll give you like $100 million.
Okay.
But with Elon Musk, he's like serious. He wants to basically fund tech bro solutions, right?
Okay.
Thing is, all the scientists, we're like, we have the technology. It's called fucking trees. like there was no question. Like we're like, you just need to spend the money. It's like the thing is with climate change, we have solutions. We've got all the solutions, and they're all really easy. There's no profit in them though, and there's definitely profit in kicking up tons of carbon dioxide, gigatons into the atmosphere.
If there's no profit, how do you sustain it?
You don't, and
You
that
just
doesn't
keep
exist
paying.
in
It's
capitalist
Elon
society.
Musk, he wants to fund a solution that
Yeah.
once it's capitalized,
Mm.
it'll then be a thing
Yeah.
somehow.
Well, it turns out destroying the environment is profitable in a way that it will cost the same amount or more to fix it back up. But the value has gone into the product. So you then have to take that value back to put it back in the environment, right? It's like if I remove a brick from a brick wall, I can sell that brick and that gives me money. But to put the brick back in, I have to buy a brick and put it back in there, right?
Okay.
So
So
that
what
is-
you're saying is it takes a lot of carbon in order to take carbon out of the air?
Well, we put a lot of carbon in the air by burning coal, and that makes us money in the form of electricity.
Right.
Now,
Oh, and then we use that money
to take carbon dioxide,
back out.
yeah,
What happens to all the money?
well, you have to pay it back to the people that want the solutions, right? The
It
thing
works
is,
out, actually.
the people who are
Taxes
making the carbon don't want to give up the money. Funnily enough,
Yeah.
so the problem is at some point you have to, like Julia Gillard did, tax it, right? Taxing.
Tried to.
She did, and then Clive Palmer spent $7 million to repeal it.
Oh. Okay.
He got himself elected and
Thanks,
just.
Clive.
I like
He
Clive.
was a cool dude, but
I'm
people
glad he-
hated on him so bad he got bitter, and now he's
He's
I don't
wacko.
I
But
don't know. He's
he,
got a real chip on his shoulder.
he brought character to politics. Like, he
Oh, yeah, he did.
As a geneticist, one of my main ways I was going to get a job was to vote for Clive Palmer because he was going to turn Tasmania into Jurassic Park.
He said that?
Yeah, it's
Isn't
like-
it too cold there?
He's a mining magnate. He can heat the earth. Just burn more coal.
I think up at Townsville would be better for they've
Yeah,
already
but
got huge crocodiles.
It's got to be on an island. Well, Australia's an island, I guess.
What about Stradbroke Island?
I reckon we can have a variety. Have
near
Cretaceous in one place,
Okay,
Jurassic, Triassic. We'll move them all around. Okay, but Azola. Have you seen Azola? Just while we're here, super quickly.
I've seen pictures of it. I know that you went through a phase where you were publishing a lot of Azola related content.
I did a
and
start.
I looked a fair bit into it, but I haven't seen it in first hand,
Yeah.
especially in a large amount.
It works very well for pulling carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. It's probably the plant that's got the greatest conversion of carbon dioxide to plant.
Okay, I remember what I learned about the biggest barrier to Azola cultivation in Australia is the fact that it's a highly invasive and noxious weed.
Which is great if you want to grow lots of it. The thing is, it has to be grown in fresh water at the moment. We don't have tons of that in Australia.
Right.
So there are people who are
Well,
genetically
no.
engineering salt
I'm
water.
going to say,
Yeah.
we do have a lot of fresh water. There's huge dams everywhere. And if you put it on top of the dam, isn't it going to prevent evaporation?
Yep.
So
It stops mosquitoes from laying.
lack of water
Eggs?
is not a problem.
We need a lot, though. We need an area about 2/3 the size of Victoria. That size lake would offset our carbon emissions.
So we need salt-resistant Azola
Would
in
be-
lake air.
Yeah, or even just the Pacific Ocean. We could offset all the carbon emissions.
Yeah, but then who owns it? And
Just sink it. Turn it back into the
chuck it in
oil. Because the
there.
oil we're burning now is Azola
sink it.
from 49 million years ago that sunk to the bottom of the Arctic
Right.
and then turned into oil. So by turning it back into Azola, it's completing the cycle. It's just solar power with 49 million years of extra steps.
Right. So maybe we do it at the Great Garbage Gyre,
Yeah.
and then it will protect the plastic from UV radiation.
Stop the microplastics.
Stop the microplastics, and maybe as it sinks, it might take some microplastics with it.
Beautiful. Maybe it'll eat the microplastics.
Hey, maybe is that a thing? Does Azola
Well, not yet.
sounds
But
like
you know what? A lot of
fungus.
UV radiation and an abundant carbon source, you'd be surprised.
Mutation.
So that garbage patch, it's an opportunity. Like, it's one of those things you're like, what would I do if I had access to that garbage patch? Like,
I want to go there one day.
it's like a micronation waiting to be formed.
Yeah, Just like raft them together.
That's it. Just lash it with some more plastic, just some ropes.
Your fishing line.
Yeah, a bit of expander foam over the top.
Honestly, I think if you just drove a dinghy around, it would get all tangled up, and you'd instantly have an island.
Perfect. And there was that guy. Did you read about that guy in Mexico who had like an island made out of Coke bottles?
No.
And he like lived on there with a goat.
Whoa!
If someone wants to find that,
Can someone send us a link,
chuck it in.
please? For everyone else to
Yeah.
see.
Oh, there's a link to the microphone that Joe Rogan uses. It might be a bit out of our price range. Why lemurs and not other kinds of primates? Because lemurs have the coolest tails. That's why I want those one. I'm gonna not touch on that comment for a second. I'm just gonna grab you a cup so we can have some tea.
Thank you. So you might notice that I keep looking down to the side of me. It's because there's this dog. There's this dog. It's crawled under the blanket, and I almost sat on it when I sat down. I don't know how you deal with this. It could be anywhere in this apartment.
Moves pretty quick when I come sit down. This is Indigo.
Hey, Indigo.
Okay, it is time for tea. We have Lucy and I have a bit of a ritual to have tea while we're.
Where is Lucy tonight?
Lucy's in Brisbane. She's had an emergency family appointment
On Tuesday night.
It was emergency, so it wasn't planned at all,
Okay.
unfortunately. So our thoughts are with Lucy and her family, but she'll be back again next week.
She will be back next week.
Which is exciting. So how does it feel to be on the other side of the Facebook lens?
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yours is the.
I mean, it's cool being in this apartment. There's lots of
You've
stuff that
never
you
been here
guys don't
before.
see when you're in here. But you're not always in this room either.
No, we've been to Lucy's house, but we have great internet here, so that's why. You haven't even got the tour yet.
No, well, that'll happen after the live stream. Otherwise, you'd just be watching a couch, an empty couch. The other thing about this apartment is it's very. I mean, I don't know what it's like in the other room that you film in, but it's very stimulating. There's all kinds of very inspiring things.
What's the highlight that you can see?
Oh, it's probably. I mean, the most eye-catching thing is the fish tank, which is probably the most mundane of all things in here.
Is it though? Because
There's
you know
so
what I
much
do?
going
I
on.
sit and I just watch. When I'm stressed, I just sit and I just watch the fish tank.
That's there. I can.
It's really
I can
nice.
understand that. It's got bubbles. It's got fish. It's got plants.
We've got.
Here we go.
Oh,
Can we actually watch it? Oh, hey.
yeah. Hold on. I'm just gonna bring this up. So we're still broadcasting. A man turns 100,000 plastic bottles into a floating island.
Have you worked out how to show people what we're watching?
We can. What I'll do is I'll just, if we want to do this.
It looks cool.
So what we do is we click here, we add window capture, and we go that, and then we pick this,
Hey. All right.
and then I can just shrink this down.
That's a serious houseboat.
That's a serious houseboat. So I'll just put this here.
That looks like anyone could do that.
So we'll just shrink this down. Oh, yeah. So basically, I was gonna.
This is the
okay.
coolest thing ever.
Yeah. So basically, he just tied all these Coke bottles together. It takes 450 years to decompose. So he's like, well, that's quite long, and he's done the Dutch thing and just reclaimed the ocean. So this is.
Oh, a small version.
And I think the trick is that each of the bottles on their own gives a little bit of buoyancy. You wrap it with some sort of netting, or you lash them all together, and much like filling something underwater with ping pong balls, eventually you get enough that it's resistant. It will just float, and it will never fall over. Now, one of these actually got killed by a typhoon.
One of these?
Yeah,
people,
there's
or
another guy who had this.
Can you kill these things?
Yeah, I think you can.
Destroy
I
them?
think like hurricanes. Hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones are all the same thing.
No. Hurricanes and cyclones are the same, but a typhoon is different, isn't it?
No, a typhoon is an Asian hurricane.
Whoa, okay. So
hurricanes are like
UK,
Australia. In America, they call them cyclones, and then in Asia, they call them typhoons. Typhoon's the coolest name, I think.
It is.
It
yeah.
does, yeah. Yeah, so this is pretty cool, right? It's very bohemian.
Yeah, we have to keep it moving though, because the people
Okay, here we go.
they need stimulation.
Okay. You know you've been on the other side, so we'll just we'll leave that there in case we decide we want to open up the
Hey,
window
now
again.
this is it.
Oh,
Here we go.
check that out. Oh, here we go. Bring this down and bring that down there. There we go. Hidden. Okay, so would you build yourself a little pontoon island?
I think it's a great retirement plan.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the short term it'd be better to get some high school kids to make them.
Yeah. Unionize them.
Sure.
Get each one to make their own part of the island.
You don't have to be that organised, you know. Just it's a fun thing. It's a fun holiday program. Just start making these islands. Start strapping them together. I think there are some legal issues to consider.
There's no law on the ocean. It's a completely different set of laws.
No. If you're in, for example, Sydney Harbour, there are rules.
Yeah, but like not if you're a pirate, right? Like, from my understanding, once you go on the ocean, all the rules change. You go on the river. Second you step foot on a boat, completely different laws. You're going back to Magna Carta, right?
Look, I am a lawyer, but that's not my area of expertise.
Clearly.
So you could be right.
Because like
Admiralty law. Whenever you hear those loonies who start talking about how law doesn't apply to them, they always talk about admiral law. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but that exists on the ocean, right? Like if I walked into court here and I'm like, this is a kangaroo court, I didn't elect this judge, you're elected by a group of my peers, so I brought 15 of my friends along and we decide we want no judges. You know, that type of stuff. From my understanding...
Hey, Barry.
Once you step foot
Hey, Roger. All right, let's throw this one out.
Pretty much, right? They do this. But my understanding is once you go onto the ocean, all that stuff's fine again. You go to Sydney Harbour, Scott Morrison has no power.
Oh, okay.
It's like regular police can't get you. They have to be like the water police that operate under certain conditions. And like, you know, you can't just park your car anywhere you want, right? But in Sydney Harbour, you kind of can.
Can you?
There's like shipping lanes and stuff.
Yeah.
But you can't get like fined the same way that you get fined on land, from my understanding.
Okay.
I could be completely wrong. But...
Is that why some people live on boats?
It's why tons of people live on boats. And there's all these weird loopholes and laws. Like, you can put your anchor down... If you don't put your anchor down, you can be anywhere you want, because technically you're not parked.
Yeah, I see.
Whereas if I just like didn't put the car in park in a no stopping zone, police aren't gonna be like, we're not gonna fine you.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Well, that's fascinating.
So we should test this. Have you spent much time on boats?
A bit of time, not
good
much
fun.
time. Yeah, I love boats.
What if you have a baby born on this floating island? What nationality do they get?
I mean, this happens all the time. Babies get born on ships. They get born in planes. Usually, what matters is where the plane has come from, where it's going, nationality of the parents, whether it's flying over something.
But that's interesting because when you hop on a plane, if you fly on a plane from Sydney to LA, the plane is Australian soil.
Right.
Until you clear customs.
Oh, even when it lands.
When it lands, it's still Australian soil. Until you clear customs, you're on Australian soil. There might be some weird limbo between the plane and customs, but the plane, well, basically until it takes off again, as far as I'm aware, is Australian soil. You know what's interesting?
Everything.
Which continent has the lowest infant mortality?
The ocean.
Actually,
Sorry.
probably has higher.
I couldn't resist.
Because more babies would have died at sea.
Oh shit, you're right.
Has 0% infant mortality. 100% of babies born there have survived.
Antarctica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One baby has been born in Antarctica.
Wow.
And
Do they
survived.
have a passport? How does that work? They probably just stitched one
Well,
together.
if every country owns Antarctica, maybe that baby
which part
is actually a citizen of every state.
So do you know much about that? Does every country have a claim to Antarctica?
I think it was basically allocated as this scientific area. Now, what's interesting is there's like we've all of our nation states and we have the continents. Then we have weird areas like Antarctica, the ocean, and the other one is space. And a lot of them, space law is modeled after Antarctic and law of the ocean because it's some shared space.
Yeah, I see.
But with Antarctica, it's actually causing a lot of problems because as global warming increases, it's going to become there's highly likely that you'll be able to actually use the land that's there.
Yeah.
So Russia and China are both staking out huge claims.
Well, let's think about this. If someone dug a huge hole in Antarctica to mine minerals, would any environmentalist really care? sure, if it's coal, they're going to say there's carbon in the atmosphere, but usually the problem with mines is the devastation of the land and the huge hole that's left.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're usually in forests and other kind of native or native tidal lands. But in Antarctica, I mean, that land was under snow. Let's go mine it.
I think one of the big problems is around microbes. But there's a movement called Move Over Microbe.
Who
that
cares
says
about microbes if you dig them all up?
you would be part of the Move Over Microbe movement. It also says, fuck, let's colonize Mars. Why not? Like, if the life can't show itself to us there, it doesn't really deserve to exist.
Is this people who are worried that we're going to ruin life on Mars?
Yeah. Well, there's the two camps. There's like the Elon Let's Go Colonize and Terraform camp, which I'm actually a part of. And then there's the researchers, scientists. You know, if we want to learn everything there is to know about the formations of life, Mars is probably the best place to look at it. And at the moment, it's not contaminated.
Okay, so we want to study life on Mars, but we can't go there because then we will take life to Mars.
That's
and
right.
so we will contaminate it. So we can't study it. But if we can't study it, how are we going to learn about it?
Robots. So right now,
right.
it's entirely populated by robots. Flying robots too, as of yesterday.
Okay.
Ancient evil microbes, Ice Ice Baby. What do you think about the Dante Wright shooting, where the police officer thought he was firing a taser instead of a gun? Did you see this?
No, he thought he was firing a taser.
The police officer said shot, obviously a black guy because America, and they said, "Oh, I didn't realize I was firing my gun. I thought it was a taser." Now, this is, forgive me if I'm wrong. I've only broadly read about this because police shooting black people in America isn't really news. Kind of like mass shootings. It's like it has to be unusual for it to be news, right?
Okay.
And it's just Wednesday in America if like a police officer kills a black person. Unfortunately,
Is race necessary?
Yeah, definitely. Like they definitely disproportionately kill that race. Now, what do I think about the shooting? So I think the thing is there is a race problem in America, but there's also a gun problem. If you can't tell the difference between
a training police problem, I mean,
Definitely.
it's always been the case ever since. Who's the guy who did that famous documentary on the school shootings, and then he did Fahrenheit 9/11. Michael Moore, didn't he look at how you don't have to be smart to be a police officer?
Yeah.
In fact, he might not have done it, but someone did. If you're too smart, they won't let you become a police officer because you'll get bored on the job or something.
What about if you only made black people police officers?
No, I think there's something to it, especially in Australia, where we have a very high rate of discrimination against Indigenous people. I don't understand why there isn't a Indigenous police force in the Northern Territory. I mean,
Because they're not dogs.
is that it though?
Oh no, I think
A lot
that
of
it's
people
actually
would say
prejudice.
that there are lots of Indigenous people who are, I wouldn't say dogs, but they're taking jobs from companies that other parts of the Indigenous community are saying, how could you possibly get a job there?
Yeah, like selling out essentially.
Selling out.
But I think Indigenous police.
Sometimes you got to
Policing
think.
Indigenous
You got to
people
think
is
about all
good.
the issues, and sure, there might be an issue where there are some Indigenous people who have become police officers, and then they start treating their community badly. I don't know.
Or enforcing white law, I think, is a bit of a tricky one too.
Right. Yeah. Well, we should get the opinions of some Indigenous people on this matter.
Definitely. When we're talking about these things these days, it's very important to hear from the people who've got the lived experience. But I think one important thing as well is that it's also possible for, as long as we know the bias, for us to imagine things. Because I saw one thing where a lot of authors were being penalized for writing stories outside their lived experience, right? So it's like, well, can a white middle-aged woman
a book that isn't all just a story about you?
Like, how do you know what it's like to be a 12-year-old, Chinese girl during a climate apocalypse? So it's like, I don't. That's the point. But it is interesting. Like, where does that end, and where there's this thing we hear a lot in America, like stay in your lane, right? Don't venture outside. Don't use your imagination or your understanding of how the world works to try and project your life experience onto other people's. But I think that we all do this. It's even those of us without empathy coaches still manage to have some sort of understanding. And a lot of the movement of the left, I think, is actually like broadly like censorship and actually more divisive, because it removes the agency of people to think like, what is someone else's life experience like, or that maybe I have some small inkling about what that could be like because I have a brain.
It's a really hard topic, isn't it? Because as soon
Super
as you
hard.
step into it, suddenly you're in a battlefield.
That's
and
it.
anything you say, someone will come and say, how could you say that? But there's a lot of interesting things to consider. I know that a big topic at the moment is silencing white men. And this is
Much to the dismay
ironic,
of this.
Sorry. But I think it makes sense in a way, only in the sense, to me, I understand that white men's voices are highly overrepresented. And so we need more diversity. And the quickest way to do that is just say, all right, for a little while, we won't listen to white people. But maybe...
or white men.
It's white men. Well, first it's white men, then it's white women as well. I think maybe if it was kind of like this month, let's not listen to white men, or this year, let's go for a year without it. But if we just
say, a good time frame?
If we just say don't listen to it, then I think a lot of more powerful people in society, many of them which are white males, often identifying that way, they're going to resist, and then it's just going to create more problems.
But they can't. If they can't talk, they can't really resist, right?
No,
Maybe
they can, because they're pulling the strings behind everything. You know,
they're the puppet masters.
Well, this is what I hear.
So I think maybe what about every day after 6? There was actually a politician from the UK, a Greens politician, and she said it kind of tongue in cheek, but she goes, "Well, what about if we put a curfew in for men after 6 p.m? But what about if we did that not just for them leaving the house, but for them just making comment?"
Yeah, I think the danger here is that if you allocate a time where one group of people, a dominant group in society, in ours it's white men, maybe in China it would be Han Chinese men, I don't know.
Because that's an interesting thing. In different cultures, the ethnic majority is different. It's not just white men; it's white men in the West.
Yeah, and broadly, more of the world is affected by that. But if you assign a time and you say white men can't talk then, for example, then the rest of the time the signal might be, all right, well now white men can talk 23 hours of the day.
What about 6 p.m. to midnight?
I would be more of a fan of there's just 1 hour in the day when white men can have a voice.
The other way?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Okay.
a lot of people can just close their ears for that period.
We're going to go... We'd love to hear what you think. Please let us know. I haven't watched
That
the footage.
hour will be between 7:30 and what hour of the show?
8:30.
8:30.
7:30 to 9:30 we generally run for. We run until we get 100 comments. Stephen Morello says, maybe the guns and tasers should have a pop-up, "Are you sure you want to use this?" Or they get a small zap if they, as they use it, so they don't have they don't have the suggestion of overusing it.
Oh, it's a good idea to give them a little zap before they use it.
Now, this is interesting because we've actually talked about doing this for nuclear weapons. So in America, there was actually a proposal that the key to the nuclear bomb would go into a staffer. Just someone in the White House.
Into a staffer.
Into their heart. Now, the only way for the president to launch the nuclear bombs is to take a ceremonial dagger and kill them, because they're about to kill like 100,000 people. And if they can't murder one person in cold blood, then why should they drop a nuclear bomb?
Yeah, I'd have to think about this.
It's taking this to the nth degree, the taser idea.
No, it's totally different, because with the taser idea, they're shocking themselves.
Yeah.
With this idea, they're just killing someone else, and they're going on some bloodlust
It's
rampage
PTSD,
where
though.
they're killing people, cutting their hearts, and then, sending nuclear bombs.
Yeah.
And what next?
Okay, which presidents would actually do that though? Like Trump would in 2 seconds.
I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with humanity for not having used nuclear weapons
In quite a while.
in, 50 years now.
Well, we haven't dropped them on people. We still use nuclear weapons.
Oh, where do
Like
we
North
use them?
Korea is like blowing up nukes to make sure they work in their test sites. We just don't drop them
Yeah,
on
I
people,
see.
right?
That's even better. Like they're using
Yeah.
them, but they're making sure they use them in the right place. Think about what else do humans do where they manage to maintain the hygiene of their activities?
Not very
Nothing.
many. No. So Nuke's actually doing okay.
They're okay. Let's
You know. Interestingly, I don't know if we've covered this
not
before.
speak too soon.
I don't know if we've covered this before. Hold on. The chat's not okay. Hold on. Okay, yeah. So this is a cup that my girlfriend bought me.
It's so beautiful.
Which is it's native animals having sex, and we got it from Kmart of all places. So I think this is interesting. This feedback that you get, the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you, is a really nice thing when we're policing. That maybe you're less likely to inflict harm on someone else if you know that harm is coming back, some form of culpability or penalty.
Yeah, I mean it could just make them rage more.
Or we could just ban guns in America. That'd be a really.
Let's do it.
Have you spoken to like lefty Americans about banning guns?
I saw this great TikTok recently. Now I tried TikTok for about a week and it just completely took over my life.
Really?
I've uninstalled it, but I will go back. But for now,
Really?
yes.
So if you're viewing in China, soon your government will be able to watch James again.
I deleted my account.
No, they're still watching.
Are they watching in China?
There's a lot of security concerns about using TikTok.
Okay, well, what I saw was a TikTok of this lefty. I assume maybe she's a lefty now, and she wasn't before. She's come from America, and she was talking about her experience of coming to Australia. And she had a bunch of quaint things about Australia that was kind of funny, like people swearing in class and the teacher not caring, like silly things like that.
Yeah.
But then the climax of the video, the punchline was that she asked, where are the metal detectors at the school? And people were like, well, why would there be metal detectors? And she said, for school shootings. And someone said, what, guns are illegal in Australia? And she said that she experienced the most overwhelming sense of safety. She had never felt as safe before. And I just suddenly clicked in my head, wow, she honestly, when you're in America, someone could shoot you any day, anywhere,
Have you been to
just
America?
because they don't like you.
Have you been to America?
I have. A while ago.
Did you get scared about guns?
No, I was a bit young back then. It was all a bit of a blur.
Like, I go over there and I'm like, aren't you all terrified about guns all the time? Because I am. And they're like, it's not like we're going to get shot.
We don't care if you have a gun.
Seriously, like I was in a park and 3 days later, someone just went and shot a whole bunch of people. Same park in San Francisco.
Get out of there.
Imagine if Hyde Park, we heard, someone just went on a rampage and killed 12 people. Like, that's just, as I said, not even news in America, really. Like,
you know, I was having a thought about why Americans are so outgoing. And I thought maybe it's because they're constantly trying to make sure that people don't dislike them and want to shoot them. Because that's what I'd be like. I'd be constantly not wanting to cross anyone.
Hey, you're my friend! Lovely to meet you!
Pretty much, because who's going to shoot that guy? No, you're going to shoot the guy who's like scowling in the corner, who doesn't want to make eye contact.
You got to watch the quiet ones. That's what they say, right? As an Americanism, I reckon. You got to watch. I reckon it is.
Yeah.
Because they probably like to shoot the quiet ones.
So it's different in Australia.
Who would you shoot?
Oh,
You got one bullet.
I don't have anyone comes into my mind.
Okay, and no penalties.
Like the first thing that came into
Come
my
on,
mind was, but it's not even real. It's Kim Jong-il. My brain was just like, who would you shoot?
Oh, so you shoot someone because they're evil?
Not even because they're evil.
I gotta shoot someone for
Because
being annoying.
They're just like a dictator.
Is that a bad thing?
Not necessarily. It's just the first thing I thought. Because
We kill dictators.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh.
Americans taught me that. Who would you kill?
Right now, probably Dutton.
Why would you kill him? Why wouldn't you shoot him?
Because
in
it's
the
just
foot or
smug. It's just
something?
smug. And he's also he was head of police. So I feel like that's taking out the boss, right?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Very
It's like,
symbolic.
yeah, it's like if you're in Game of Thrones.
I wouldn't shoot you, Dutton. Don't worry. Who would I shoot though? No,
In
come
Game
on.
of Thrones, who would you shoot?
I've only watched the first season.
Who would you shoot?
I don't know, man. I'd have to think about
I'd shoot the
this.
biggest one, right? Like I'd shoot the boss, like the Hound or the Mountain.
The first thought was the big guy played by the the actor whose name is Ma Ma Mauma.
Jason Momoa.
Momoa, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
in the start of the season, he was kind of like an evil character, and very quickly though, the blonde chick kind of falls in love with him.
Yeah.
And it turns out he's got like a protective soft side.
He's Mongolian, basically.
But at the start, obviously, he was like the big monster. So I guess, yeah, when you ask me who to shoot, my brain instantly goes to who is the monster character.
Ah. I would shoot annoying, I reckon. That's Anyway, do you ever fart so hard that liquid shit comes out? This is from
Don't you?
It's interesting. So I don't know that everyone can see.
It's called a shart.
In fact, it's a great Australian tradition.
Where are you from, Kevin Five fan, please?
So this is a a Twitch comment. So none of the Facebook people can actually see that comment. They can see it on this screen.
But I always wondered what that was. You'd be responding to something and be like,
there's YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch that we stream to all platforms at the same time.
But we can now see it there.
So it comes across, and I have to have this up. It's complicated.
Kevin Fry fan page. Yeah. Where are you from? Have you never heard of a shart before?
There was an incident. I believe it was at a McDonald's. Do you remember which one?
Engadine McDonald's.
Do you think this was a real event that happened?
Of course.
Do you know someone put a plaque up?
Made of what?
Like a bronze plaque. America, yeah. Our prime minister, their head, your equivalent of Biden, he sharted, which is shit farting.
Allegedly.
There's been investigative journal articles. Have you seen these?
I have. I didn't pay much attention.
The Vice article timed how long would it have taken him between the football club and the McDonald's in the Uber that he was in, or the taxi that he was in.
But wait, how did they find out that he sharted?
What's that? Everyone who's working at the Macca's reported it.
Oh, it was that much that it
He was in the McDonald's.
It came out of his pants.
Yeah. You got to read the article, the investigative journal. Gross. The investigative journal article.
He's our man, Scott Morrison.
Are you running the next election? No. Do you all also get ball bleeds? I don't
Us too, we do.
What is a ball bleed?
It's when your balls bleed.
From what?
You know.
Slashing? I don't have a borderline girlfriend anymore.
Swinging them around.
Swinging them around.
From gonorrhea. Is that what you mean? Is it when you get gonorrhea?
Sure. I spent on Kevin is an outlier. He spent $1,000 on disposable towels for my ball bleeding. I've never heard of ball bleeding.
No, we don't have that in Australia.
No guns, no bleeding balls.
But we do shart.
Excessively.
Ask our Prime Minister.
So do you believe it happened? What chance do you reckon it happened?
I give it my reality.
Yeah. I reckon 100%. I'm a scientist. I'm 99.9 or anything.
I mean, if we're going to put a number, I would say 90%.
No, only 90.
That's pretty high. Like,
that's quite
90%
high.
Is probably true.
In fact, I'm gonna do it right now.
Only because I've only heard stories, secondary, tertiary sources.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't actually seen the reports from people. I would assume that it was like an Onion article that was taken out of context. But at this point now, I've seen it go around so many times, and I've seen that it's never become so extraordinary or ridiculous that it wouldn't be true. So I actually think that it's the truth. And you know what they say, let the truth out. You don't have to protect the truth. It's like a lion. Let the truth out and it'll just spread. I don't think that's actually true.
I've heard about it. Information wants to be free, right?
Right, okay.
It's interesting when we were talking about censorship before, that any attempt to censor things, the internet perceives as damage and it routes around it.
Yeah, okay.
And so any form of censorship is ultimately doomed to fail.
Oh, that's where the machine lords of the future will save us.
That's right. Well, hopefully, and I for one am all in favor of machine lords. Are you in favor of machine lords?
Probably.
Have you heard of Rocco's basilisk?
I have heard of it. I heard of it because it came up when Elon Musk started dating Grimes. Like, I had a massive crush on Grimes. I was like, she's so cool and different to everyone else. Oh, well, she's like got a baby with Elon Musk.
It's not Elon Musk's baby. So it's not Grimes' baby.
You heard it here.
It's Amber Heard's baby.
And it's been implanted into her.
Yeah.
Oh, cool, whatever.
My dad told me this. It's the most cracked out conspiracy I've ever heard.
To be honest, I
what's the
probably
kid's
would
name?
still have a crush on Grimes, but
Yeah?
she's like not really public anymore.
Oh, okay.
She's doing her thing and whatever. She's cool, but
So
I was like, whoa.
What's the baby's
Elon
name?
Musk likes Grimes? That must
Yeah.
mean, great minds think alike.
That's right. You're basically channeling
Don't know about
Elon
that,
Musk.
but the comments were all about Rocco's basilisk.
Rococo's
Rococo's basilisk. And Elon Musk made some joke on her Twitter, and she thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
And he obviously thought she was cool, and the rest is history. But what is Rococo's basilisk?
Rococo's basilisk. Rocco's basilisk. Rococo was some artist from the Baroque period, something like that.
right.
And they were making some tongue-in-cheek pun, and
I
they
don't
both thought
think
it
the
was
pun
very
even
witty.
worked.
It was not. It was a shit pun. But Rocco's basilisk is basically the nerd version, the transhumanist version of Pascal's wager.
Okay.
So remember Pascal's wager? Pascal was a very famous mathematician who basically said, you've got nothing to lose by believing in God, but you have a lot to lose if you don't.
I think that I've disproven Pascal's wager.
I think a lot of people have. Please tell me why. So
Oh,
what
well,
are the
because-
options here? If you believe in a God and there is a God, you go to heaven.
No, because God might think you're an idiot.
Yeah, that's right. So there's 4 options, right? There's a quadrant. You believe in God and there's a God and you go to heaven. You don't believe in God and there's a God and you go to hell. You believe in God and there's no God, you wasted a bit
Or
of your
there's a
Sunday.
different God.
And then the other one is there's no God. So basically, out of 3 of the scenarios, you're better off believing in God. But now you introduce scenario number 2. There's a different God. There's a God that respects critical thinking.
Yeah. I mean, why would he create us with his mind only to smite us for it? It's a question
Narcissistic.
I've asked.
There we go.
Anyone out there who is a religious leader, chime in, tell us what you think.
So Rocco's basilisk basically says that in the future there might be a godlike AI, and it can go back and it can work out every single person that helped it come into existence because it's godlike, right?
Yeah.
Then it can basically, this is my interpretation of it, and if it finds people who didn't actually help it come into existence, it can recreate them at their brain, at their last computed mindset, revive these people and then put them into eternal damnation. Cyber hell.
Okay. Insane. Just preposterous, but interesting.
But possible, right? So it's basically saying
Is it?
you have nothing to lose by helping the AI come into existence, but you have everything to lose by being vocally against it. Now, Musk has come out publicly saying we should be scared of AI, and so has Bill Gates. And this is a terrible idea if you believe in Rocco's basilisk. You should say, no, I welcome AI. I love sentient computers. These things are great.
I think the AI is smarter than that. I think that
It knows if you're lying.
No, they wouldn't just base it on whether you said something. They would look at whether your actions actually led to something good happening, right? So what if Elon Musk telling everyone to be careful about AI is actually preventing a lot of shitty AI from being developed? So that the good, deeper AI is
it's
able
the
to...
double bluff.
Yeah, something like that.
And you reckon the AI would be onto that?
Maybe unintentionally.
Maybe he has a secret little journal
What does that say?
where he goes and he's like, just kidding, Rocco's basilisk. I love you.
I
And
love
I'm putting
you.
50
He
grand
prays
in.
to them.
I bought all the Bitcoin so I can secretly invest in creating Rocco's basilisk.
I just don't know, why would it go back in time and do that? Why would
Because
it
it's
do that?
vindictive.
I don't even believe in time travel, guys.
You know that. So on that, it goes back in time because it was modeled after us. We created God in our own image.
Good point.
Right now, you don't believe in time travel? Do you know?
But if we created a machine and modeled it around us, it would probably kill itself.
Yeah, and take everyone down with it.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
that's
it
what
starts,
people
starts
do.
cutting itself, invents arms so it can.
Well, I don't know about that.
Now, Stephen Hawking did an experiment where he held a party for time travelers. He held the party and then he announced it 2 weeks later.
I don't get it.
So he basically announced the party 2 weeks after he had it and said, listen, if there's any time travelers, come to my party.
Did anyone go to the party?
No, because he said time travel doesn't exist. And he goes, the only way for me to do an experiment is to see whether... Maybe he just
Why
had
would they want to go and have a party?
It's a really shit party. No one else was going. I turned up late. So one of the theories of time travel is it can exist. There's a whole bunch, but one of them says that it's like a telephone, right? that, you know, Alexander Graham Bell invented the first telephone, but what most people don't realize is he actually invented the first 2 telephones. Because having one telephone is useless, right? You need to be able to call another
He
one.
invented the second telephone.
That's right. And then you can make a phone call. Now, with time travel, there's a theory that without having a place to send it to, you can't just build, just have time travel. You have to build the machine. And once it's built...
Stargate.
Yeah, and once it's... Exactly. Now, the thing is that because it's a 4-dimensional object, you only need to build one because it exists in 4 dimensions, so you can send it back to itself.
You're right.
But until you build it, you can't receive time travelers.
Yeah, I see.
So there's basically...
It's a really cool idea.
And there's also some other evidence for why there isn't
But
time
hang
travel.
on, that means as soon as we build it, suddenly it'll just explode with time travel.
Nuclear bombs will come through, and zealots will come
But
through.
then it'll destroy the time machine, and then nothing will come through. Time will stop when we create a time machine.
That's right. Well, that's why a lot of people are saying this about CERN, right? The reason there were all these little mishaps when they were first getting it online, like pigeons flying in and cooling units breaking down, was maybe time travelers trying to stop it from coming into existence because it would create time travel.
I mean, maybe.
It's a big mind game when you start playing with it. There's a lot of movies made around this same kind of idea. Like Looper is a very good one about this. Like, how far do you send things back? Now, there's another interesting theory about why time travel doesn't exist. Because U.S. patent number 1 isn't a time machine.
Wait, what?
What's the first patent in the patent office? It's
Okay,
not a time machine.
So you're saying that the time traveler would go back and patent it?
Why not?
But because they only last 25 years or something, and you wouldn't be able to build a machine in that long.
Could make a lot of money.
If anything, it'll introduce it into the public realm, and then no one will be able to patent it.
There we go.
Oh.
Right? So that basically because and the thing is, and then someone will go back just before that, and they'll patent that, and then back and back and back and back until US patent number 1 is a fucking time machine, right?
Yeah, okay, I kind of get it.
Yeah, so
I know too much about patents to see it, believe it, but
you should submit the patent and see whether one gets retroactively or
one of
preemptively
the
filed.
prerequisites of a patent is that it actually works.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just file a patent for a time machine. We'd have to make one, and then why would we tell anyone
You don't have to
about
make
it?
one. You have to convince the patent clerk that it works.
Oh, find a good or bad patent.
Right? Because there's plenty of
Yeah.
patents I've seen, and I'm like, you don't have to make it. You just have to make it convincing, right?
Okay, it's like hard and soft patents.
That's right. Yeah, innovation patents we call them. I think. Has anyone watched Dark?
I think we gave Kevin Fry fan page a bit too much attention.
I think we did. We need the subscribe
He or she
button.
is asking us to lick the microphone for him. This is not OnlyFans. I think we made that clear.
Has anyone watched Dark, a German TV series? And it's about time travel. And it's really cool. It's actually very similar. It's like the German version of Stranger Things.
Okay.
Did you watch Stranger Things?
I thought it was good, yeah.
What did you love most about Stranger Things?
Oh, all kinds of things, like the sound and the monsters.
Yeah.
And the character dynamics. They were all kind of cute and fun.
Yeah.
And you wanted to be a part of the group.
You did. You wanted to ride those cheesy bicycles.
Oh,
with
and
them.
Billy. He's hot. I saw
Which
Billy.
was Billy?
No, the cool dude, Billy.
Which was it? I remember him. Yeah.
And the pool dude guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was cool.
I think the thing that did it for me was the 80s aesthetic.
Well, yeah, that tied it all together.
That
the
synthwave
music
intro.
was amazing.
Oh,
Everything about it was good, actually. The first season,
yeah.
amazing. As it progressed, it got a little bit like, how do we make this interesting,
Yeah.
like a lot of shows do.
Now, Dark is much more gritty. It doesn't have the same 80s aesthetic. It has a kind of end of Soviet war aesthetic to it.
Okay.
Talking about like nuclear waste in 44-gallon drums buried under a hill and very muted tones.
Okay.
I would highly recommend it. It's a lot slower, but I think that you've only got so much interest points that you can spend, and Stranger Things spent them all in the first season, right? Dark's you know what? We're gonna measure them out real slowly. You can have 3.5 points in the first episode.
Predestination, is that the time travel movie?
No, I think is this capital P? Is this the concept of predestination, like fate, or is it a piece of popular media that I'm not aware of? Because it's Final Destination, right?
Yeah. Oh wait, what's that?
Final Destination was where
Final Countdown.
Final Countdown was the Europa song.
I love that song.
Do you know what it's about?
This topic, nuclear
Final
war.
Destination was about Challenger exploding with the astronauts in there because it was the final countdown.
Shit, that's
heavy,
I
right?
Listen to that again.
You know, I went and fucking saw that.
Fuck.
I saw Challenger.
So it's Final Countdown for them.
Yeah, but it's such a boppy song,
Yeah, it's amazing.
right? About these astronauts getting blown to pieces. I saw the spaceship.
You saw it?
Yeah, I went to Florida and I saw the remnants. It was spooky, man.
Wow.
I
what
went
else
in there.
did you do in Florida?
Went to NASA. Saw where every single human that's ever left Earth has left. Oh, well, every human that's ever walked on the moon was right where I was.
Can anyone do that?
Anyone can go on the tour.
That sounds like a cool tourist opportunity.
I got a behind the scenes kind of tour of the facilities because I was over there for work, but it was very cool. But yeah, I got to see Challenger and Columbia. I think the
When
other
you
one
say
was.
sea Challenger, do you mean like the rubble?
Yeah,
Oh shit.
bits of metal.
Yeah.
But some of the bits are quite big and they're
Okay.
mounted and like it's like okay.
I wish they did that for the plane that flew into the Pentagon.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because they have these like shrines to each of the astronauts.
Oh wow.
And it has like their journal just open to a random page. Here's a little wooden toy they had when they were a kid.
Oh shit.
And just like they've got these shrines, and then you go into this room and there's these like the wreckage.
So what's the narrative? Is it these people are heroes? They died for us,
America
or
and
is it
space
like
exploration.
be careful?
No, definitely.
This could happen to you if you get mixed up with NASA.
It was definitely this is the price of space exploration.
Shit. Yeah.
Strapping yourself to a giant fucking rocket that was modeled after something we used to blow people up.
Yeah.
Right? Like literally we took German scientists, Nazis, and then said, okay, now make it go to the moon and put some people on there. And they're like, ah.
Okay, so this is really interesting that SpaceX or some other companies, they're going to send the first non-astronauts to space. And
Dear
my
Moon.
First to the moon?
Dear Moon is the name of the...
Right,
the-
Dear
the-
Moon. My first thought was, oh, so they don't want to risk losing any astronauts.
Really?
So they're just going to send civilians up there. Because
Astronauts make no
astronauts,
money. Right?
they don't.
Billionaires, send them all up there, right? They got tons of money. They can spend heaps to get themselves up. NASA's like, well, Elon, can you send some food up to the ISS? We don't have much cash.
I just figured that astronauts have to be trained, so they have to be trained physically and mentally, but most of their tasks can probably be done remotely.
Yeah, but why do they have to be trained so well? It's because there's not very
They
many
go to
of them.
space. If we don't have to send them to space,
Yeah.
in fact, most
Just
can
it
be
can't
done
be
with
that
artificial
difficult.
intelligence these days.
It can't be that difficult.
I thought the same thing. Like,
Like,
what are they doing?
They train them. Like, have you been scuba diving before?
Meditation?
Yeah.
Oh, scuba diving. Yeah, well, that's kind of
Pretty much the same
seems
thing.
hard at first, but a lot of people do it.
I've
sure
done it.
it's-
It's like, it's tricky, but like, I didn't have to go on the vomit comet for, 30 days
Yeah,
to learn how
right.
to do it. And they train these astronauts in these giant pools. I feel like there's a lot of things that can go wrong and you have to be prepared for it. But if you just went to the ISS now as like a tourist, well, there's already a support staff to deal with that. So you're
Right.
fine.
Okay, I know why they train astronauts a lot.
Why is that?
Because they're weeding out all the fuckwits that are going to screw things up.
But
they
there's
have to
Russians
put
on
you
board.
through- I'm sure there's a lot of competent Russians up there.
You know the Russians have a gun?
They take guns up with them.
Yeah.
Are they all allowed to just take
No,
whatever they
just
want?
Russians.
What do the Chinese take up? What do the
Nothing.
Japanese take?
Nothing.
Are the Japanese astronauts?
Yeah. Look at the Japanese module
What
on the
countries
ESS.
have astronauts?
Canada?
France.
Well, the ESA, European Space Agency, means anyone who's a member of the ESA, which I believe if it's you're a member of the EU,
Oh, okay.
means that you can send an astronaut. Canada joined the ESA,
Okay.
and that's how they got ground control to Major
What?
Tom. That guy, what's his name? Commander Chris Hadfield.
That guy. He's
Yeah.
cool.
He's cool, so he got to go up because they were a member of the ESA.
See, the thing about Hadfield is
Yeah.
he just reminds you how boring astronauts are.
Most of them.
Because here he is, and he's playing guitar, and fills you with wonder, and you think,
Yeah.
what have these guys been doing?
Yeah,
They
where's
could have
my-
been playing music. They could have been live streaming. They could have been
Right.
expanding people's minds from space.
We could be doing this,
but only
right
one
now.
guy has
Yeah.
done it in how long?
We could be doing this right now on the ISS.
Exactly.
There's an internet
We'd
connection.
be like floating.
Yeah, that's it. And we could, we'd have to be careful. Our cups of tea would have to have little straws.
Oh, we'd be able to tip them upside down.
Yeah, that's it. We could actually do a head-to-head thing. So basically,
But don't take snakes or frogs.
no. And but unless you're a Russian, it's funny that the Russians took a gun, but not the Americans.
That just shows how insecure they were.
Well, the ISS was a fusion of the Russian module and the American module to make the International Space Station because they were the only two countries in space. And the Russians are like, well, we're keeping our guns. And they're like, why do you have guns on the space station? They're like, in case someone steps out of line and we need to shoot them. Americans are like, well, we're not going to take guns. The one time
Wow.
they said we're not going to take guns. The other thing,
We're so civilized.
yeah, so it's like Antarctica on there. It's like all these weird laws.
Okay.
So
Who has a
Russians,
gun in Antarctica?
Russians probably. I don't know if Americans even have a base, but I don't know if they'd have guns.
What?
But Chinese, do you reckon the Chinese have guns?
Did you know that America doesn't have a base on Antarctica?
I'm not sure whether they do or not. So
It's
with,
probably a secret base.
I reckon they probably do an under the ice
Oh,
base.
yeah.
Yeah. They're gonna keep it cold enough that the global warming doesn't melt the ice from around.
How? Oh, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, some refrigeration.
Doesn't make sense at all, because then they would be building solar panels. And
No, they're just gonna.
they'll spray those microparticles in the sky to cool the earth
Bill
down.
Gates's answer to climate change.
That's pretty cool. You know, we had a day
Geoengineering.
recently. We've had some amazing weather over spring.
Mm.
Sorry, over autumn.
Autumn's been
and
beautiful.
late summer, like a cool summer. Some nice overcast days. Some of these overcast days where there's just like a mist in the sky. Suddenly, you're like, wow, it's really nice.
Mm.
You know, it's not too hot, not too cold.
Yeah.
Can we get this more often? It turns out
Yeah.
some people actually want to do this. They want to spray chemtrails
Yeah.
with
Literally.
these particles
Mm.
to create a mist that will cool the earth,
Just reflect some of the sunlight
Yeah.
back.
like sunglasses for the earth.
The problem is that these things don't always work. It depends on where you put the particles, because clouds trap it, right? So it has to be at the right height to reflect the sun before it hits the earth, because otherwise it increases the amount that the light bounces around. So there's all these, and the things we don't know. We've never done engineering on this scale.
Sounds disastrous.
It is. It's a worry. Geoengineering is I reckon we should go and practice on other planets before we try it on Earth. Because if we break, like you said with Antarctica, well, it's okay to mine there because no one really cares if we break it. No one cares if we break Mars or Venus, and Venus has a runaway greenhouse effect. We can try it.
Hey, I'm actually a fan of going to Venus. Why don't we do Venus?
Yeah. Why don't we do Venus? We need
We're
to start
always
a
about
movement.
landing on the planet, but if you
Surface
stay in
surfacism.
orbit- yes, exactly.
Well, you can't put a flag in, so we're not going to go there. That sounds like a
Sure you can
2-year-old.
Put a flag in.
Just drop it.
Floating flag or
Floating.
something.
You know, I reckon if we invent a floating flag, we'll be on
We're
Venus
going
in
to
2
Venus.
seconds. But plus, living in a blimp is so cool, right? Living in a
Scary.
blimp on another planet.
Very scary. I've seen
Yeah.
blimps on TV. They're always blowing up.
Yeah, and if you want to kill people on Venus, you just kick them off the viewing platform, right? And no one will ever find the body. On Mars,
What's
it's
the
desiccated.
Star Wars world where everyone lives in sky?
Cloud City. What's the guy's name?
What planet?
Lando
is it?
Calrissian.
Brando, yeah.
Lando.
Doesn't Boba Fett come from the same?
Boba Fett's got a weird history, right? Because he got genetically engineered,
Oh, shit.
and then he was a Mandalorian.
Oh, okay, this is way too much. Okay.
Too much history. Do you want to read Stephen's comment?
People under the influence of psilocybin, the active compound in magic mushrooms, report having more profound and original thoughts, but they tend to score lower on cognitive tests of creative ability. Okay, I can relate to that.
I feel like the same thing could be said of people who have cocaine and then estimate their business acumen. Would you agree with that
It's
comment?
exactly the same thing.
What would
isn't
you? Are there any other drugs where a similar thing could be said, where they overestimate?
it? Alcohol and driving ability.
There we go.
Maybe.
MDMA and a pill.
And how much someone is worth loving.
How much deodorant you need.
I've never experienced that.
Sweating on MDMA?
Do people cover themselves in deodorant?
No, they don't.
Oh.
They smell really bad. At a rave, you go around, there's all these people who think you want to hug, and maybe you just want to
Yeah.
stay dry. Or maybe I'm in my old age, I have become jaded, and I
You've
don't
had some
want
bad
hug.
experiences?
I have.
I've never had that experience.
I've been in a rave where there was sweat dripping from the ceiling.
Oh shit!
Which
I
at the
probably
time I
have
thought was
too.
very
It was like,
cool.
oh, there's sprinklers.
Yeah, and
I
now
love
I'm
those
like,
stages where they sprinkle water on you to cool you down.
yeah, post-COVID,
Turns out it's sweat.
that's it. Sweat and fog machines.
Now wait, why did Stephen Morello say that? Stephen, is that related to something we said, or is
It's
it
giving
just
us topics in case we get
topic?
boring.
Okay, all right.
Which is so
Cue
good.
taken.
So what's really interesting is how do you measure creative ability? There's a,
Is that a conventional? Are they measuring you on conventional creativity? Because we all know that people who take mushrooms, they destroy conventions. They break down
Oh.
assumptions and expectations.
Can you measure creative ability? Is that actually something you can do? Like, do you reckon you can measure intelligence?
We're gonna have to read that article to find
We
out their
can't-
methods section.
We can't do it. How would you measure creativity?
Why is there a paywall?
What's that? Oh, because we'll break the. How would you measure creativity? Is more interesting.
Okay, I guess.
Feed one person mushrooms, feed one person a placebo. Now you're going to test their creativity.
Oh, the first thing I would test is how inclined they are to partake in creative activities. So they could be creating bad things, but that would be the first thing I would test, so that I'd have something as a control to kind of work out the next step. The next step
Yeah.
is I would probably I would get viewers to rate the quality of the works done, and then I would get the participants over a period of time to make works, and then take shrooms and make
Yeah.
works, and first I'd see, do people actually like the things they made when they're on shrooms? But you can't tell.
It's a
people-
tortured production that they hate, but it's incredibly creative. That would be interesting. Now, what's interesting is it says while they're on the mushrooms, they're less creative. But I wonder if after the experience has gone away,
yeah.
that the insights they've gained they can actually use, because the intoxicant nature of the psilocybin causes them not to be able to produce under the influence.
Yeah, they're too distracted by what's going on.
The colours are bouncing around on the page. The crayon is walking away.
I mean, without going too much into my own personal experience in the matter, I would definitely imagine that if you're taking a psychedelic, it could be very hard to coordinate yourself,
Definitely.
whether it's to play guitar,
Mm-hmm.
because you might try and put your finger somewhere and lose track of which fret you're putting your finger on, or if you're drawing a picture.
Well, the act of putting the finger down is a transcendental experience.
Yeah, you could be thinking of all kinds of things.
You're being inspired. So the method in the study, the researchers examined two types of deliberate creativity: convergent thinking and divergent thinking. The former represents the ability to generate a single optimal solution to a problem, while the latter represents the ability to generate many solutions to a problem with several possible answers. Now,
Trust the scientist to come up with that definition.
that's
of
creativity right there. Mason and her colleagues found that both types of creativity appeared to be impaired during the psychedelic state, but psilocybin appeared to produce lasting improvements in divergent thinking, much like we were saying. Yeah. So divergent thinking was creating many different solutions to a problem. When not under the influence of the substance. A week after receiving psilocybin, participants tended to generate more novel ideas for uses of everyday objects compared to those who received placebo. Now, what's interesting? Can you give someone a placebo for a magic mushroom? Like,
Yeah, it happens all the time.
you just tell them it's a magic mushroom.
Dealers do it all the time.
There you go.
They're here, take this.
Coming back next
Here,
week
it's
for more.
acid.
Yeah.
I've seen it many times.
You know, I actually went psychotic one time because I was like, what about if there's nothing on the paper?
bet
What
you
about if
eat
it's a
lots of it.
conspiracy
There's only one way
from
to find out.
Buddhists and they say this little postage stamp is enlightenment, but they just give it to people and the people placebo
You
themselves.
bought acid from a Buddhist?
No, it has a little Om symbol.
Oh.
So what about if the Buddhists are manufacturing little bits of paper saying it's enlightenment, knowing that people will placebo themselves into nirvana?
Yeah, okay.
But they're not actually manufacturing any drugs. It's just little bits of paper with Om symbols on there.
And thinking about this made you psychotic?
Yeah, I'm bipolar, so it was just...
It ran out of control.
It's like my other friend went psychotic because I told him, actually, what if the hokey pokey really is what it's all about? And it just started this chain where he couldn't stop thinking about it.
Wow.
He's like, I've wasted my life.
No, there's never too late to start the hokey pokey.
I agree, and it might be. We don't know at the pearly gates. They may be like, you put your left hand in, you put your left hand out. But did you realize that that's what it was all about? And you're like, no, it wasn't. And then they kick you back into purgatory.
Yeah, it's sad.
It could happen. If maybe there's a Rocco's Basilisk, there's some AI which does this just to stuff with us in the afterlife.
I wonder if the hokey pokey that we all know is the true hokey pokey.
And New World Order
No,
buried the real one.
I'm thinking it's more like Chinese whispers and so many things. Like I reckon it's possible that the hokey pokey that we know is just like a corrupt, filtered version. Like so many spiritual teachings that kind of started off being something, and then it's filtered down to become something that's different.
A more sanitized version.
Yeah.
My sister has laughed. So I actually wanted to create a church of broken things. So I wanted to create a church of obsolete technology.
Hey, cool.
So and hokey pokey would be in there. It could be a teaching, but you could only record it on a cassette or a mini disc. I tried to buy a mini disc player this week. Someone tried to charge me $100, and I said no. I think that's too much.
A mini disc player
and recorder.
Wait, what's a mini disc?
It's like a CD but smaller.
That's a good deal.
Is it? I'm like, I can't get anything on mini disc. And he goes, well,
but why do you want it?
He's like, I've got 4, and I thought that was a bit too many, so I thought I'd sell one. But they're incredibly precious to this collector. I just wanted to play with it because it was.
I'd buy it for $100, to be honest.
I'd buy it for $25.
But as long as I had a few mini discs, I don't know.
He gave you some mini discs.
What I'd like is a suitcase that has inside of it a mini disc player, a microfilm player.
Yeah.
You know, a floppy disk player.
Up until then, I was like, technologies that take other obsolete technologies and make them smaller. So mini film, microfilm, mini disc. But then when you said floppy disk, it went back bigger.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well,
but
actually, the
cool,
floppy
though.
disk is
Floppy
smaller
discs
than the bigger floppier disk.
Well, that's what I thought when I said floppy disk.
The biggest one or the smaller
the big one?
Oh, have you ever used one? Oh, no, that one's small.
Well, the old ones had that too.
That one wasn't really floppy unless you pulled it apart. No, the big ones don't have it.
Mate, I remember doing this with these things.
So there was.
Have you got any here? Let's have a look. All right, it's time to bring up.
I don't have any here. So the types of floppy disk we have.
We'll show off our age.
Oh, we can hold on.
How do we do it?
Okay, so we bring up. We need to bring it up. We need to shrink us down. Oh no, that shrunk down.
Faces in the corner.
Yeah, I shrunk the wrong window. What we do is we should be able to just shrink us down, and we're gonna go across to this window.
Okay.
We're gonna go floppy disks. Let's have a look. So we have. There's 3. I thought there was only 2. Okay. So I know the orange one and the blue one.
I don't know what I was doing. I must have just been touching them.
It's the blue one that has the little
Yeah.
moving section, right?
I remember caressing the big ones too, but I've
You can
just been ruining them.
Yeah, you're just destroying them. But it's weird that like ancient obsolete technology is actually more magical than current technology. Like I understand how a USB stick works, right? Because it's all digital. This, you take leaves off a tree and you beat them into a fine pulp.
Oh wow.
And you take the cellulose and you turn it into a plastic. Then somehow you use fucking magnets to incorporate information. Anytime magnets are involved, it's magic, right?
Yeah.
I have no idea how that
Insane
works.
Clown posse.
What does they say?
And
how
fucking magnets, how do they work? And I don't want to talk to a scientist. Those motherfuckers lying and making me pissed.
Really, is that what it says?
Yeah.
Oh, don't,
I love that song.
They're a Christian band, weren't they? It came out.
They revealed. They did the big reveal where they, just in case you don't know who this is.
ICP. Here we go.
These guys, you got to give it to them. Basically, they they started off just as a kind of trashy band singing about just delinquency, drinking.
Well, they had the 7 deadly sins, right? And this was an allusion to what they would eventually come out with, which was Christian morality.
Well, at some point, 10 years or something into their career, they've got fans all around the world. They revealed, actually, we're Christian.
And we were singing.
Join us. We wanted to reach out to people, and now we want you to all join us in this religion. Now, who knows the truth of how far back it goes, and whether they just thought it was a good marketing ploy, or whether they became Christian
During
halfway
it,
through.
maybe they got sold out.
Maybe they got sold acid by a Buddhist or by a Christian.
Rococo's Basilisk came back and said, "There's one true path to salvation."
But a lot of fans rejected them. But a lot of fans actually thought, man, we always thought Insane Clown Posse were as real can get. Which is ironic because of the way they put makeup on their faces.
It's kind of fake.
Yeah, but no, they're real. They're so real, we're going to accept them for coming out as Christian. I don't know.
They're still juggalos. Because they started the juggalo movement. Woo woo.
Anyone can be a juggalo.
Yeah, they're kind of like that honor among thieves. They've got their own morality, not quite Christian.
It's almost like they're so radical and deviant that they even were able to deviate against deviancy in a way that so many of their followers actually probably felt a little bit insecure.
Yeah.
They were like, fuck, I could never do that.
Yeah, and I think it was like they gave a sense of like pride and a code of conduct to like the unpopular people.
Yeah.
Like at your school, the gothic kind of kids are the ones that would eventually become juggalos, and then they would go to a festival where they would all accept each other, put their makeup on, put the little slits on the eyes and the black, and have their own thing. And I think it's actually to America what B&S balls are to kind of Australia.
What's a B&S ball?
So Bogans, which is kind of like an Australian juggalo in a sense, right? They have these bachelor and spinster balls, or B&S balls, where you drive your ute.
Oh, a ball.
And you go out to like
I was thinking like a
farm.
Dragon Ball or something, or like a.
It's like a
Wayblade. That was what I was imagining.
Oh no, this one is like a ballroom, right?
Okay,
like this type of ball.
And what's the B&S stand for?
Bachelor and spinster. It's unmarried men and women, but it's generally like people who are like 20 to or 15. If you've got a license, so 15 to 30, kind of drive out to the middle of nowhere.
So it's like a rodeo.
Like a rodeo, except the people being ridden are unmarried farm folk, and you pay like $100 or $80 to go.
It's a sex party.
Definitely, you put a queen size mattress on the back of your ute, and it's designed for everyone to get drunk and shag.
Wow.
There is unlimited beer. I have a friend that went because he was an alcoholic, and $80 for drinks for him for a night was cheap.
Oh, yeah.
So he just went, and they tie your stein to your belt so that you don't lose it throughout the night. And
how are you meant to shag then?
Well, you take off your clothes.
You take off but then you lose your cup.
Well, no, you're in bed then, so the cup goes with your clothes.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I just am imagining people running around stealing people's pants and
They
mugs
probably do. But I think the idea is you get drunk and then you end up
I see.
in the thing, and then that's drinks are over, right?
Drinks over, mate.
But they have these weird traditions. Like you're not allowed to have drugs there. They're very specific about this, but a lot of them do, and it's considered really not socially acceptable. But a lot of them do, and they also cover themselves in dye. You see those color runs?
Like a Hari, what is it?
The Hare Krishna type thing, like
the Indian celebration.
Yeah, it's this weird bastardized thing because we don't have culture in Australia, so we just pinch random shit from everywhere.
Why have I never seen this?
Maybe you've never gone
been
looking.
Invited to it.
Have you been to the country? If you look at the next time you see a ute drive past, have a look at the stickers on the back.
A queen size mattress.
Well, they'll have. Not always a queen size mattress in the back. They'll generally have tools because they're back in the city. But they have these little stickers, right? And if you look at the stickers, you can see, 2016 BNS muster, leave your panties at home, and like tits out for the boys and all this stuff. So, anyway, are we out of comments? I think we're coming up to 2 hours. We haven't received 100 comments yet, though.
Is anyone even watching?
Yeah, there's someone watching. We can probably
join us. We're going to go to a B&S party later.
I've been banned, I think.
How many did you go to?
I've never been to one. I've just been banned. All my friends have said I shouldn't go. Have you watched Legion?
I haven't watched it.
Legion is an American television series created for FX by Noah Hawley. Imagine naming your kid Noah, by the way.
It's a very popular name.
Very popular name. Like in Mexico, they're like, fuck it, we're just going to go straight up. Your name Jesus. In Australia, they're like, oh.
We're not there yet.
Noah, Matthew, these things are fine.
Yeah,
they're nice. They're biblical names, but we can't just like. I'm like, if I was going to be like, name my kid something like this, I'd just be like God. You know, you're Jesus, God, Holy Spirit, Meow Meow.
Wow.
That's your name, straight up. Okay, Noah Hawley, based on the Marvel Comics character David Haller / Legion. David is a mutant son of Charles Xavier and Gabriel Haller.
Mutant son?
I thought Charles Xavier was gay.
I thought he was paralyzed from the middle down.
Yeah, he uses his mind to push the sperm out.
Oh shit, he has powers, yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Or he could push his DNA into...
Yeah, but plenty of gay men have babies.
With
Plenty of
women?
lesbian women have babies.
With women?
Yeah.
Oh, makes sense.
With men? They don't have them with men.
Why not?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Costs
is
a
the
lot.
answer. Do you reckon there's a clone out yet? Because Scientology have claimed that... No, Raelians have claimed they made a clone. I'm going to watch this TV show, by the way. But, do you reckon there's any clones? Aside from identical twins, do you reckon there's a clone walking around right now?
80%.
That's pretty high. I'm like
What's
50.
the chance
I'm
you
like
would
50.
know about it?
Well, Raelians advertise it because they're trying to get people to join their cult. But they haven't...
They don't exist anymore, man.
Raelians?
Yeah, they're gone.
What?
They made too many predictions that didn't come true.
Are they gone?
They probably become something else like QAnon or something.
I got invited to one.
Aurelian party?
No, a cult. One of the, like, flow-ons.
Oh.
A lady who went to my local coffee store.
You'd be great with us.
Yeah. Tried to get me to come along. And I went and looked it up. It was called Kenja Communications.
Okay.
And they're very famous because everyone who joins their fucking cult goes psychotic. It actually induces psychosis in their followers.
Wow. As in medical psychosis? Or
Medical
they're
psychosis.
just batshit crazy.
A bit of both.
Okay.
But they had a very, very famous participant. Cornelia Rao.
I don't know who that is.
She was found by police officers wandering around the Australian desert, and they grabbed her, and she was speaking German, so they stuck her in a fucking detention centre.
Oh, shit.
And it turns out she was actually an Australian citizen who had a psychotic break and started speaking in a German accent without a passport. So they locked her up.
Wow.
And it was this big scandal. It was like Howard was Prime Minister.
Yeah, okay.
And then they realized...
Kenja Communications.
They realized their mistake.
Look it up, but be warned.
You may open up a rabbit hole you will never crawl out of. Dutton may have to embarrassedly send you to Nauru.
It's one of those things where you really want to look at it, but you kind of feel like, shit, if I look at it, I might go crazy.
It's you
ring.
stare into the void and the void stares back at you. Right? Yeah, exactly. The ring. The temptation is you want to put it on, but you know it's a thing. So I was serious. So I've wanted to join a cult for forever.
Join or start?
A bit of both. And
Too much admin to start a cult.
Surprisingly little to start a cult, surprisingly a lot to start a religion. And you know the difference between a cult and religion, according to the government, is like how much paperwork you've filled out and how many participants.
Yeah, right, okay.
So,
I see what you mean.
Yeah. I think the trick is you out-bureaucrat them. So you say, you know, this Church of Obsolete Technology only receives communications via fax.
How does that help?
Because it means that the bureaucracy that rules you, like the government is just endless bureaucracy, right? You basically you beat them at their own game by making there be endlessly more levels of bureaucracy until it's easier, or they're blown away by how good your bureaucracy is and how slow you are at doing everything.
Yeah.
But they don't
Mm-hmm.
tax you because they're like, wow, you've out bureaucrated us. Like that's why the ATO makes money. Is it becomes so much legal effort and so much, you know, and you have to overcome so much inertia to fight them. It's easier for you to just pay the money, right?
Yeah.
They've paid people to be more annoying than you.
Right.
It's effectively how it goes, right?
Have you ever been hunted by the ATO?
No.
Neither have I. I don't know.
And also,
what am I doing wrong?
A lot of people go and vote because it's easier than paying the fine, right? They just go and draw a 1 on the page.
A lot of people pay the fine because apparently it's easier than getting up and going out to vote.
Yeah. But I think it depends on how much money you have. A lot of people will go and draw a dick on the form, but get their name checked off so they don't get fined. And the ATO, a lot of government agencies are like this. Is endless levels of bureaucracy.
Yeah, I see.
So I figured, what about if I create a religion that creates even more levels of bureaucracy than them?
Try it. I like your idea. Just say that it's part of your religious freedom.
Yeah.
To not use email.
No.
And to only accept certain communications.
Yeah.
See if it works.
I'm going back. I'm going to write I'm going to start writing my first chapter is on a cave painting.
Yeah. Okay, well, look, I've just thought of an issue here. And
Yeah.
it's that whole problem of access to justice. See, if you create a religion and you want the rights, you still have to engage with the courts and the legal system in order to enforce those rights.
Mm-hmm.
Which means you're going to have to prove that you're a religion in order to have the religious freedom.
Yeah.
And to do that, you might have to play by the rules.
We can play by the rules partly. So we can fax it somewhere.
Fax. Actually, fax is good.
We can post, right?
Fax is still legitimate.
We can post.
Don't post. Everyone has a mail address.
Oh,
Fax. No one has a fax machine.
Not using a post officer, using a pigeon, right?
Can you do that?
Yeah, the homing pigeon will go somewhere, right? So the thing
I've
is,
heard of it before.
a homing pigeon,
Not these days.
you can send internet over pigeon.
I've
There
heard
is,
about
there is.
this.
Here, have you seen this? Avian IP.
So someone sends like a flash disk with hundreds of
Yeah,
gigabytes.
that's
and
right, a
they
mini
found, hey,
disk in this
it was
case.
faster than the internet.
That's right. So we can send that. We just have to get the pigeons that live at Parliament House, take them,
Okay.
then deliver it. What else? Semaphore. We can communicate using.
What's semaphore?
It's what they use. Ships used to use it to communicate. It's got flags, right?
Okay.
Now, gay people use it to communicate.
I didn't know that.
Didn't you know there's a
That's why they have
flag?
so many flags at the Mardi Gras.
Hanky code, they call it.
Oh,
You put flags in
heard
your
of
back
this.
pocket, and the colours and the patterns indicate left is like top and right is bottom, and then it might
Okay,
be
this
like
reminds me of the whole. If you have an earring on the left side, it means
this
you're
is
gay.
the same thing.
If you have an earring on the right, it means you're straight.
Both of them mean you're gay in the flag code. It's just about whether you prefer to be on top or on bottom.
Yeah, I see.
And then they'll have things like yellow is for urine, so you put that one in, and like black might be for BDSM or fisting or something like this.
Now, is that the pinnacle of communication and consent, or is it the antithesis?
Well, in animals, it's the peak.
Oh.
So they have
right.
visual signals to indicate to each other their mating preferences and
Okay.
things. But in humans, we have like vocal communication. But
Yeah.
I think there's a huge. I think by putting it in, maybe you open up some level of consent, and I think it's a better model of consent than
Within a framework
that's
of
right.
an understanding. You know the
Yeah.
rules. You know what the
Mm.
symbols mean.
You know the rules, and so
you
do
agree
I.
that they apply in that context.
That's right. So the hankies are generally you flag when you're interested, and you would generally do it in a. There we go, and then you do it at a certain venue, so like a nightclub, or a gay bar, or during Mardi Gras where you know that there'll be other people there, or maybe it's when you do a walk at a local gay beat at your neighborhood hookup place or whatever.
Sure.
So
One of those.
one of those.
They don't exist anymore.
They do.
People use Grindr.
Yeah, but they also love the adventure of it, right? So
True,
there's a very.
bathroom at University of
There,
Sydney.
you said they don't exist, and you tell me straight away that they do.
And I've heard that there's a hole there between the cubicles that's regularly used as a glory hole.
Really?
Yeah.
You heard it here. Okay. Moving right. We'll continue this conversation another time. In this series, Charles Xavier is still walking. It's before the war. He meets Gabriel at a mental facility as a catatonic Holocaust survivor. Obviously, crossovers with Magneto. She was awakened from her catatonic state after he used it, and then she went and had a baby. And then I'm gonna have to watch this to find out the powers. Now, have you ever played the theremin? I have played the theremin, and you can move your hand into very specific arrangements to make sharp notes, and then
Right.
your other hand controls the volume,
Oh.
pitch and volume.
Yeah, okay. I've seen someone playing The Flight of the Bumblebee.
Very,
theremin.
yeah, and
It was
the
very impressive.
most famous song in the theremin, Beach Boys, "Good Vibrations." How does the intro to? Yeah, you're like, oh, of course, it's bloody theremin, right?
Yeah, okay.
I'm picking up good vibrations.
I love that song.
Woo. And it's got the frequencies and vibrations, very hippie instrument.
Okay,
the
was it
theremin.
actually played with a theremin?
Yeah, it was.
There you go.
There's a few really weird songs played with it. If you get one someday or can borrow one, maybe some of your add some of your sauce to the mix with Lucy.
Hey.
The theremin isn't it? So I like this because you're playing a magnetic field, and it never really took off. But I love weird musical instruments, and theremin is up there as like the more of the mainstream. But I love when people do things like play the amplifier.
How do they do that?
So you've put a microphone near an amplifier that's plugged into itself before, and it creates like a feedback loop. That's right. So people actually do this as in noise bands, and but they flirt
Okay.
with
I'm
the
down with
feedback loop, right?
That's what I want to be when I grow up.
Noise
A
musician.
noise musician.
Yeah. What do you want to play?
Oh, everything.
Yeah, I think I would like to. I like the chaos.
The best thing is when you find a sound from something you weren't expecting.
The forbidden sound.
Yeah.
So I love
the unknown sound.
I love circuit bending. I would like to actually circuit bend. Have you circuit bent before?
No, I've never done that before.
You've seen circuit bending performed though,
Yeah.
where they'll look. They
Look,
take a
it's
kid's
not
musical.
always very impressive, to be honest, because it's more of a technical, nerdy thing. Because it's like, wow, you made that sound come out of that machine. That's so random. But often the sound, it's just like a.
But what's interesting, the theory behind
There
it
are
is
some out there doing some amazing stuff.
Toy Death is probably the one that
Toy
I
Death,
think
okay.
of. Have you seen Toy Death?
No.
They permanently circuit bend kids' instruments and then make songs in Sydney, and they're fantastic. Highly recommend. Go check them out. And they'll have like the talking.
A Furby.
It's like guitars and Furbies and the talking calculator things like hello, where am I going today? But then they'll have knobs that distort the sound.
Yeah, okay.
And they make it play. What's interesting though is that once you get a circuit that can make a sound, it potentially contains every sound in the universe.
Whoa.
And that's the forbidden sound. You've just got to find it. It's like the block of, the sculptor and the potter, they look at a block of marble and one takes it away and one adds to it. So one, it's what they take away and one's what they add to it. This would be like the potter. The clay can be anything, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking, would it sound like the ocean? Because it's
It
all
could.
the sounds at once.
You can siphon them out with the electronics. Rick Astley's never going to give you up. It's contained in that circuit. You just have to add enough bells and whistles and filters to find it. On that note, I think we're going to call it a night.
Oh, I have an announcement to make.
Announcement.
Welcome.
Hello, everybody. I'm
You
always
come in?
jumping in
How do
awkwardly.
you do it?
You jump in.
While Meow has been streaming, I just went out and brought a dog. Not this one.
A new dog.
I paid for the dog in full. Surprise! It's not for me. It's for my dad. Oh, if my dad is watching, stop. If anyone who knows my dad is watching,
Don't
you're
tell him.
sworn to secrecy. I will sue you if you decide to tell him.
What type of dog is it?
Is it Jack Russell?
What's its name?
It doesn't have a name. It's a puppy.
What would you call it?
I'm really bad at names. Most of my snakes
Well,
don't
he
have
will
names.
call it something.
He'll give it a name. He's very, very excited. I took my brother along with me, and apparently my parents were having a fight before we left, where Mum was like, "Oh, where are you going to put the dog? It's gonna smell. It's gonna be on the lounge." And Dad's
I
like,
don't have a dog.
"Oh no," because
Or
once
anything?
I moved all the animals, and now Dad's very lonely, and he's just got my mum and
So, we will hopefully
Puppy?
puppy.
Jack Russell.
Jack Russell is
My
13
boss
weeks
recently
old.
bought
Beautiful.
A Jack Russell puppy, and he brings it to the office.
We used to have
And
a Jack
people
Russell.
just like have it sitting on their lap for a little while. And, like,
Dog-friendly
it just
workplaces.
pops around the place.
Yeah.
The future.
So yeah, my sister's freaking out because she's scared of my mum. She needs a babysitter for next Friday for a wedding.
So if anyone's free,
So if anyone's free, because my
Please
mum's
get in
about to be very mad at us,
Get
but
in
mostly
contact.
me.
awesome. That's an exciting way to round off the thing. Is there any final comments you wanted to make, James?
No, I have no final comments. Thanks for having me tonight.
It's been an absolute pleasure. We've had great conversation. Well, I think we'll have to get you on again if you've enjoyed yourself.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for the school at work brings in service dogs sometimes. Fantastic. I'm hopefully going to be working at Watso soon. Our lab might be moving there, and it's a dog-friendly workplace.
For a moment, you were saying you're getting a job somewhere.
Oh, no, I wouldn't.
No.
There's greatest fictions that have come onto the channel. Thank you, Sarah, for your cameo appearance.
You're
And
welcome. Indigo, do you have anything to say?
There was the saliva that we've been waiting
Saliva.
for.
There you go, Kev. I hope we
Fantastic.
didn't scare Kev away. We were a little bit.
Kev, come back. Am I moving up?
We scolded Kev.
And I moved it. No, I moved
Oh,
it.
okay.
And
We
a
actually
big,
appreciated your inputs, Kev, if you're still watching.
I appreciate everyone's input. So thank you for tuning in again. Next week we'll have Lucy. It's been a fun, a very fun night, and we'll speak to you all again soon. Thanks again, guys.